A single match strikes in darkness. Flames lick across aged whiskey blue fire, dancing across the surface in an empty bar. They say ashes hold no secrets. But in this small mountain town, every mirror reflects a different truth. Some people spend their lives running from who they really are. Others build walls so high even they forget what lies beneath. I buried that woman 3 years ago along with my husband. Traded in a ghost for a widow with a bar and a simple life. But shadows have a way of finding you. They come with midnight knocks and familiar faces you once saw die. They come with men in expensive suits asking questions about things you shouldn't know. When they burned my storage shed, I knew. When they threatened my town, I remembered. There are weapons behind every mirror in my bar. There are secrets in the reflections. And there is fire in me that never truly died, only waited like embers beneath the ash. The sound of breaking glass mingled with laughter from the weekend crowd. Min Nguyen glanced up from polishing a whiskey tumbler, her practiced smile never reaching her steel-gray eyes. Another Saturday night at Ember, her bar in the heart of Oak River. Sorry about that, Min, called Marcus Sullivan, a retired cop whose weathered face had seen 6 decades of Oregon weather. He bent to pick up shards of the glass he'd dropped. Damn arthritis acting up again. Leave it, Marcus. I've got it. Min moved from behind the polished mahogany bar with the fluid efficiency that characterized her every movement. Nothing wasted, nothing excessive. Rain pelted against the windows, a constant companion in this corner of the Pacific Northwest. October brought earlier sunsets and persistent downpours that transformed Oak River into a tableau of wet asphalt and golden light reflecting off puddles. The kind of town tourists love to photograph, but locals knew held secrets like any other place. Min swept up the broken glass, feeling the weight of Marcus's concerned gaze. 3 years in Oak River, and the retired cop still watched her as if trying to solve a puzzle. You're too good to an old man, he said, voice gruff with embarrassment. She offered a small shrug. You kept Janie Fletcher from driving home drunk last week. We're even. At 38, Min moved with the assurance of someone comfortable in her skin, though few in town knew the source of that confidence. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical bun that accentuated high cheekbones and watchful eyes. To the residents of Oak River, she was simply the quiet Vietnamese-American widow who had taken over the town's historic bar after her husband Eric's tragic hiking accident 3 years ago. None of them knew about Bucharest. Min returned to the bar as the front door opened, the bell jingling to announce new arrivals. 3 men entered, strangers. Oak River rarely saw unfamiliar faces this late in the season, after the summer tourists had departed and before the winter skiers arrived. The lead man surveyed the room with the calculating gaze of a predator assessing potential threats. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a military bearing poorly disguised by expensive civilian clothes. His companions flanked him with similar alertness, though they attempted to appear casual. Evening, gentlemen. Min's voice carried the neutral tone she'd perfected over years of observing without being observed. Welcome to Ember. Nice place you've got here. The leader approached the bar. Up close, his face revealed the hardness of someone accustomed to violence. A scar bisecting his right eyebrow, eyes that cataloged exits and potential weapons. Jack Reed. My associates and I are looking into business opportunities in the area. Min Nguyen, what can I get you? Bourbon, neat. Reed glanced around the bar, gaze lingering on the ornate mirrors positioned throughout the establishment. Interesting decor. My husband's design choices. Min placed a glass before him, pouring a generous measure of Kentucky bourbon. Reed's lips curved into what might have been meant as a smile. I heard about your husband. Tragic accident. He took a sip, eyes never leaving hers. The mountain trails around here can be treacherous. The bottle in Min's hand remained perfectly steady, despite the sudden chill that shot through her veins. No one in town spoke of Eric's death so directly to her face. They can, she agreed, her expression revealing nothing. Will you be in Oak River long? Depends on how our business develops. Reed's gaze swept the room again. This building has good bones. Prime location. It's not for sale. Reed chuckled, the sound devoid of humor. Everything has a price, Mrs. Nguyen. Before she could respond, the door opened again. Olivia Chen entered, shaking rain from her umbrella. The town doctor nodded a greeting to the regulars before approaching the bar. At 35, Olivia projected the capable confidence of someone who had seen everything a small-town medical practice could offer. "The usual," Min asked, already reaching for the white wine. "Please." Olivia slid onto a stool, casting a curious glance at Reed and his companions. "New faces." "Ain't him?" Reed inclined his head. "Just passing through, admiring your charming town." "Oak River grows on you," Olivia said, lightly accepting her wine from Min, "though most people don't discover us until ski season. We like to be ahead of the curve." The exchange sounded casual, but Min caught the subtle tension in Olivia's posture. The doctor was assessing the newcomers as thoroughly as Min had. As the night progressed, Reed and his companions remained at their table nursing drinks while conducting what appeared to be a business meeting. Occasional glances toward the bar suggested Min herself was part of their discussion. Near closing time, the bar had emptied except for the three strangers. Reed approached as Min wiped down the counter. "Mrs. Nguyen, I'll be direct. My employer is interested in acquiring this property. We're prepared to make a generous offer." He placed a business card on the bar. "Black Hawk Development." Min glanced at the card without touching it. "As I said, Ember isn't for sale. Perhaps you should consider the opportunities. A small-town bar can't be particularly profitable, especially for someone running it alone." His tone remained pleasant, but his eyes had hardened. "My employer doesn't take rejection well." "Neither do I, Mr. Reed." A flicker of surprise crossed his face before he mastered it. "Sleep on it. We'll talk again soon." He laid several bills on the counter. "Keep the change." After they departed, Min locked the door and moved methodically through her closing routine. Only when she was certain she was alone did she retrieve the business card, studying it with narrowed eyes. In the storage room, she pulled a wooden crate aside to reveal a hidden floor safe. Inside lay items incongruous with her current life: a secure satellite phone, a compact 9mm Glock with suppressor, various passports, and a stack of cash in multiple currencies. The tools of her former profession. She activated the phone, waited for encryption, then typed a brief message. "Black Hawk in Oak River, seeking property, suspicious." The reply came within minutes. "Unknown entity, not on watch list. Keep distance, observe only." Min replaced the phone, closed the safe, and restored the crate to its position. As she straightened, a sudden memory slammed into her with physical force. Bucharest, 5 years ago. Rain hammering against bulletproof glass. The operation compromised. Communications dead. Lydia young and terrified, clutching documents. "We need to move now." The extraction point overrun. Gunfire. Lydia falling. Blood pooling on marble floors. The mission failed. So many dead. Min gripped the edge of a shelf, waiting for the flashback to pass. The smell of gunpowder and copper faded, replaced by the familiar sense of wood polish and whiskey. 5 years since Bucharest. 3 years since Eric's death. Both carried the weight of failure she couldn't shake. Back in the main room, she moved to adjust one of the ornate mirrors. Eric's peculiar obsession. The bar featured 7 of them, each positioned at seemingly arbitrary angles, yet somehow creating perfect sight lines throughout the space. She'd never fully understood his insistence on their exact placement, but had maintained them precisely as he'd left them. Her reflection stared back. A woman composed of carefully constructed layers. Min Nguyen, quiet bar owner. Before that, Eric's wife. And before that, my smoke trans CIA operative specialized in vanishing people and information. A person who no longer existed except in the nightmares that still woke her, gasping for air. The storage shed behind Ember erupted in flames shortly after 3 a.m. By the time Min reached it, the structure was engulfed orange flames, licking skyward against the backdrop of pounding rain. Fire trucks arrived minutes later, but the shed was already a lost cause. Fortunately, the rain prevented the blaze from spreading to neighboring buildings. "Electrical issue maybe," suggested Fire Chief Harold Parker as dawn broke over the smoldering ruins. "That wiring was original to the building." Min surveyed the blackened timbers, noting the distinct smell of accelerant beneath the char. Maybe it was, she agreed, seeing no benefit in sharing her suspicions. "You're insured, right?" Parker asked. "Yes." The shed had contained only additional stock and old furnishings. Nothing irreplaceable, nothing that would explain targeted arson. As the firefighters packed up their equipment, Olivia approached medical bag in hand. "I heard the sirens. Anyone hurt?" Just property damage, Min assured her. Olivia studied her face. You don't seem particularly upset. It's just a shed. Still. Olivia's gaze shifted to the ruins. Strange timing with those men showing up yesterday. Min kept her expression neutral. Coincidences happen. Not often in my experience. Olivia hesitated. Be careful, Min. I don't like the feel of those guys. After Olivia left, Min examined the shed more closely. The fire's origin point was clear. The back corner nearest the alley. A warning, not serious destruction. The kind of message sent by professionals. By mid-morning, Oak River was buzzing with the news. Small towns thrived on fresh gossip, and a mysterious fire qualified as headline material. Min opened Ember for lunch service as usual, deflecting concerned questions with practiced ease. Around 2 o'clock, the bell above the door jingled. Marcus Sullivan entered, his face grim. He made directly for the bar where Min was inventorying bottles. You heard about Caroline's place? He asked without preamble. Min paused. No. What happened? Vandalized last night. Cash register, emptied, windows broken. He lowered his voice. Those strangers from last night were seen near her cafe before it happened. Caroline Weber owned Oak River's only cafe, a cozy establishment popular with locals. Like Ember, it occupied prime real estate in the small downtown area. Police, Min asked, though she already suspected the answer. Sheriff's office is looking into it. Marcus's disgust was evident. Means they'll file a report and forget about it. Budget cuts have them down to 3 deputies for the whole county. Min absorbed this information, adding it to her mental assessment. Targeted intimidation, pattern establishing. First a warning at her property, then a demonstration of consequences at a similar business. Thanks for letting me know. She poured him a coffee. On the house. After Marcus left, Min moved through the bar, straightening chairs and wiping tables with mechanical precision, while her mind processed possibilities. If Blackhawk Development was using intimidation tactics, their interest in Ember went beyond normal business acquisition. During a lull in the afternoon, she slipped into her office and retrieved a small electronic device from a hidden drawer. The signal detector had been part of her standard field kit during her CIA days. Eric had insisted she keep certain equipment after her retirement. She moved methodically through the bar, scanning for surveillance devices. The detector remained silent until she approached the largest mirror behind the bar. A soft beep indicated a transmission signal. Min studied the mirror's ornate frame, finding the tiny microphone expertly concealed within a decorative carving. Professional grade. Recently installed. It hadn't been there during her last sweep 3 weeks ago. She left it in place. Better to feed false information than alert whoever was listening that they'd been discovered. That evening, Reed returned alone. He took a seat at the bar, ordered bourbon, and watched her work with predatory patience. Heard about your storage shed, he commented. Unfortunate. These old buildings have electrical issues. Min kept her voice neutral. And Caroline's cafe. Oak River seems to be having a run of bad luck. Min set his drink down with deliberate precision. What does your employer actually want, Mr. Reed? He smiled, appreciating her directness. Exactly what I said. Property acquisition. Oak River has development potential. There are easier ways to buy property than intimidation. Intimidation. Reed's expression registered mock offense. I'm just making conversation about local news. Min held his gaze. I don't scare easily. No. Something shifted in Reed's assessment. My employer suggested you might be more adaptable than this. Your employer doesn't know me. Reed's smile tightened. That's where you're wrong, Mrs. Nguyen. Or should I say, Agent Tran. Min's expression revealed nothing, though internally, her pulse quickened. The name she'd abandoned 5 years ago. The identity that should have died in Bucharest. I think you're confusing me with someone else, she said evenly. Reed leaned forward. Bucharest, 5 years ago, a failed extraction, multiple casualties. He kept his voice low. Ring any bells, my employer has extensive files on that particular operation. I run a bar in Oak River, Mr. Reed. Whatever you're talking about has nothing to do with me. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded as if confirming something to himself. We'll see. He stood, leaving his drink untouched. My associates and I will be in town a while longer. Think about our offer. The alternative could be unpleasant. After he left, Min remained outwardly composed while serving the evening crowd. Inside her mind raced through implications and contingencies. Her cover was compromised. Someone had connected Mai Tran to Min Nguyen, a link that should have been impossible given the thoroughness of her exit protocol. When the last customer departed, she closed Ember and conducted another electronic sweep, finding 2 additional listening devices she'd missed earlier. She left them in place but activated a jamming device in her office, creating a small zone where she could speak freely. Inside the secure bubble, she called the only person in Oak River she remotely trusted. Min, Olivia answered on the second ring. "Everything okay?" "I need to talk." "Not on the phone." A brief hesitation. "I'll be there in 15. Min used the waiting time to check her emergency preparations. The weapons concealed throughout the bar. The escape route through the basement that connected to the drainage system beneath Main Street. The go bag always packed and ready. Habits from her former life that Eric had encouraged her to maintain even as they built their normal existence together. Olivia arrived precisely 14 minutes later, medical bag in hand as always. Min led her directly to the jammer-protected office. "You're scaring me a little," Olivia admitted, taking the seat Min offered. "What's going on?" Min studied her friend's face, weighing trust against security. "What do you know about Blackhawk Development? The company those men represent nothing before yesterday. They're not developers." Min kept her voice low despite the jammer. "They're professional intimidation, possibly mercenaries." Olivia's expression shifted from concern to alert focus. "How do you know that?" "Experience." Min made a decision. "I'm not who everyone in town thinks I am." "I suspected as much." When Min's eyebrow raised, Olivia shrugged. "You move differently than most people. You're always aware of exits. You never sit with your back to a door. You're observant. I'm a doctor. I notice details." Olivia leaned forward. "So who are you really, Min? Someone who used to work for the government? Someone who left that life behind?" "CIA," Olivia guessed. Min's silence was confirmation enough. "And these men know about your past. They shouldn't, but they do." Min stood pacing the small office. "They mentioned an operation from 5 years ago. Something classified. Something that went wrong. What do they want?" "Officially to buy Ember, but their methods suggest different motives." Olivia processed this. "Are you in danger?" "Potentially." Min stopped pacing. "But I'm more concerned about why they're really here. Blackhawk isn't on any agency watch list, which means they're either new players or operating under deep cover. Make sure. Should we contact the authorities?" Min shook her head. "The local sheriff can't handle this level of threat, and I can't risk formal channels without exposing myself." Olivia looked troubled. "What's your plan?" "Gather information, prepare defenses, figure out what they really want." Min held Olivia's gaze. "I need to know if I can count on you." "Of course." The response came without hesitation. "This could get dangerous." "I figured that out when your shed exploded." Olivia's steady gaze held Min's. "I've patched up gunshot wounds in refugee camps and delivered babies during artillery strikes. I can handle myself." Min studied her friend with new appreciation. "There's more to your background than small-town doctor, isn't there?" "Doctors Without Borders 6 years. Conflict zones mostly." A small smile. "We all have our pasts, Min." For the first time in days, Min felt something loosen in her chest. Not quite relief, but the easing that comes with shared burden. "I should go before anyone notices I'm here," Olivia said, standing. "What do you need from me?" "Eyes and ears, medical supplies just in case, and discretion." "You have all 3. Olivia moved toward the door, then paused. "Be careful, Min. Whatever these men want, it's not worth dying for." After Olivia departed, Min remained in her office reviewing mental maps of Oak River and cataloging resources. The town's isolation, once its charm, now represented a tactical weakness. Poor cell coverage, limited law enforcement, 20 miles to the nearest neighboring community. She activated her secure phone again, typing a more urgent message. "Cover potentially compromised. Bucharest operation reference specifically. Request background on Blackhawk Development." This time the response took longer. "Investigating, maintain low profile. Extraction team not available due to ongoing situation in Eastern Europe. Handle locally if possible. Contact emergency protocol only if critical." Translation. She was on her own. Min wasn't surprised. The agency had always operated on plausible deniability with its covert operatives. Once you stepped out of the life, you ceased to exist in their calculations unless you offered strategic value. She powered down the phone and returned it to the safe. Tomorrow she would begin her own investigation into Blackhawk and Reed. For tonight she needed rest and tactical planning. As she moved through her closing routine, checking locks and security systems, movement outside the window caught her attention. A figure stood in the shadow of the building across the street watching Ember. Even in darkness, she recognized Reed's distinctive silhouette. Message received. They were keeping her under surveillance. Min continued her routine without pause, giving no indication she'd spotted the watcher. Let them think they had the advantage. It wouldn't be the first time she'd been underestimated. In her apartment above the bar, she showered and changed into comfortable clothes, mind still processing contingencies. The apartment reflected the same practical efficiency as her public persona. Minimal decoration, functional furniture, nothing that couldn't be abandoned at a moment's notice. Only one corner held personal items, a framed photo of her and Eric on their wedding day. His smile broad and genuine beneath a shock of blonde hair. A small jade Buddha that had belonged to her mother. The battered copy of The Old Man in the Sea that Eric had been reading just before his death. Min touched the photo frame lightly. They know Eric, she whispered. Someone connected me to Bucharest. A noise from the bar below interrupted her thoughts. The distinct sound of the back door lock being manipulated. Someone was attempting entry. Min moved silently to her bedside drawer, retrieving the Glock. She killed the lights and positioned herself with clear sight lines to both the apartment door and the window, the only entry points. The sounds continued for another 30 seconds, then silence. Not the silence of abandonment, but the measured quiet of someone who had gained access. Min regulated her breathing, settling into the combat mindset that had once been as natural as sleep. Identify threat, neutralize if necessary, maintain position advantage. A floorboard creaked on the stairs leading to her apartment. A rookie mistake that confirmed her intruder wasn't Reed. He would have known which boards to avoid. The apartment door handle turned slowly, locked. Another pause, then a soft voice barely audible. It's Sean. I need help. The name from her past froze her momentarily. Sean Miller, fellow operative. One of the few survivors of Bucharest besides herself. Prove it, she called softly, gun still trained on the door. Budapest, 2013. You saved my life with a ballpoint pen and a credit card. Details only the real Sean would know. Min approached cautiously, unlocking the door, but maintaining her defensive position. The man who stumbled in was barely recognizable as the poised operative she'd known. Blood soaked his shirt from a wound in his side. His face was gaunt, eyes haunted. Jesus, Sean. She caught him as he collapsed, lowering him to the floor while scanning the hallway behind him. Empty. Lock it, he gasped. Make sure we're clear. Min secured the door and performed a rapid sweep of the apartment and stairwell. No immediate threats. She returned to find Sean pressing a hand to his bleeding side. What happened? She retrieved a first aid kit from the bathroom. Ambushed. They're outside town. His breathing was labored. They're coming, Harding's people. Harding! The name triggered alarm bells. Maxwell Harding, Harding Industries. Sean nodded weakly. He knows about Bucharest. Knows you're here. Min cut away his shirt, revealing a gunshot wound. Through and through, lower right abdomen. Significant blood loss, but no organ damage visible. This needs a hospital, she said, applying pressure bandages. No hospitals. Sean gripped her wrist with surprising strength. They're watching everything. Harding has reach everywhere. Harding runs a defense contractor firm. Why would he care about a 5-year-old operation? Sean's laugh turned into a pained cough. That's why I came to warn you. It wasn't just an Operation It was Eric's op. He designed it. The revelation hit Min like physical impact. Eric was agency. That's impossible. I vetted him myself when we met. Deep cover. Assigned to monitor you initially after Bucharest. But he fell for you for real. Sean's eyes glazed with pain. That's why they killed him. Eric died in a hiking accident, Min said automatically, even as pieces began shifting in her mental landscape. No accident. Sean fumbled in his jacket pocket, producing a blood-smeared USB drive. Eric found something on Harding, something big. Weapon sales to terrorist cells. Off-books operations. He was building a case. Min took the drive, mind racing to realign everything she thought she knew. Eric is CIA. Their meeting not coincidental. His death not an accident. Why now after 3 years? Because Lydia is still alive. The name sent a physical shock through Min's system. Lydia Bennett, the young operative she had failed to protect in Bucharest, the one she'd seen shot point blank. That's not possible. I saw her die. Sean shook his head weakly. Extraction team got to her. Critical condition, but she survived. Deep cover since then? His breathing grew more labored. Eric knew. He was protecting her identity. And Harding is hunting for her. Why would Harding care about a CIA operative from a failed mission? Because she's his daughter. Sean's voice weakened. Lydia Harding, undercover in her father's operation. She found evidence of his illegal weapon sales. Eric was her handler. The pieces clicked into horrifying clarity. Bucharest hadn't been a random operation. It had been targeted specifically at gathering evidence against Maxwell Harding, with his own daughter as the primary source. Eric didn't tell you, to protect you both. Sean continued, his voice fading. The evidence is here, somewhere, in the bar. He hid it before they killed him. Min checked his bandages, alarmed at the blood still seeping through. You need a doctor. I can call Olivia. Too late for me. Sean gripped her hand. Find Lydia. She's the key. She's been hiding all these years, but Harding's closing in. The mirror's my. Eric said something about the truth in reflections. His eyes locked on hers with desperate intensity. Be careful who you trust. Harding has people everywhere, even here in Oak River. With those words, Sean Miller, CIA operative and one of the last links to her former life, exhaled a final breath and went still. Min checked for a pulse, found none. For 3 heartbeats, she allowed grief and shock to wash through her. Then training took over. She had a body to dispose of, evidence to secure, and a completely new understanding of the threat facing her. If Sean was right, Eric had been murdered for what he knew. And now Harding's people had come for whatever evidence remained, and possibly for her as well. As she wrapped Sean's body in a shower curtain, Min's mind kept returning to his final words. The mirror's my. Eric said something about the truth in reflections. Eric's obsession with the ornate mirrors throughout Ember suddenly took on new significance. Not decorative elements, but perhaps something more purposeful. And the most disturbing revelation of all, Lydia, the operative she had believed dead for 5 years, whose loss had driven her from the agency, was alive. The guilt that had defined her existence since Bucharest shifted into something more complex. Not failure perhaps, but manipulation. A mission designed with layers she had never been privy to. Dawn would bring new dangers and decisions. For now she had a body to deal with and defenses to prepare. Reed and his people were watching, waiting for their moment to strike. They would find Mai Smoke Tran ready for them. The operative who specialized in making problems disappear had emerged from the shadows of Min Nguyen's carefully constructed life. Looking down at Sean's body, she whispered a promise. I'll find the truth, for both of us. The morning brought heavy fog that shrouded Oak River in ghostly white, reducing visibility to mere yards. Perfect cover for Min's grim task. She had spent the night preparing Sean's body and planning her next moves. The weighted tarp package now rested in the trunk of her seldom-used car, parked behind Ember. The remote section of Lake Oak River, where she intended to dispose of it, was a 20-minute drive into the national forest that bordered the town. Min moved through her morning routine with mechanical efficiency, mind compartmentalizing the various threats and tasks. Open Ember as usual, maintain appearances, investigate the mirrors, prepare for potential confrontation with Reed and his team. Find out if Lydia Harding was truly alive. She had just finished checking the dining room when the front door opened. Despite the closed sign, Marcus Sullivan entered, carrying a paper bag that emitted the scent of fresh pastries. Morning, he called, setting the bag on the bar. Thought you might need breakfast after the excitement yesterday. Min managed a small smile, though her mind calculated how to move him along quickly. Sean's body was still in her trunk, and every minute increased the risk of discovery. Thanks, Marcus. Just getting set up for the day. He studied her with the assessing gaze that had made him a good cop. You look tired. Everything okay? Just dealing with insurance paperwork for the shed. Marcus nodded, though his expression suggested he wasn't entirely convinced. Listen, I've been asking around about those men. Black Hawk Development doesn't exist in any Oregon business registry. I checked. Min paused in arranging glasses. You've been investigating them. Old habits. He shrugged. Something about their story didn't add up. Thought you should know. I appreciate that. She hesitated, weighing options. Marcus could be a valuable ally with his law enforcement connections and knowledge of the town, but Sean's warning about trusting no one echoed in her mind. Be careful, Min, Marcus said, moving toward the door. Men like that don't take rejection well. Carolyn's already talking about selling her cafe after what happened. Hurry! After he left, Min went through the motions of opening preparation while examining each mirror more carefully than she ever had before. The 7 mirrors varied in size and frame design, but all shared unusual positioning and identical reflective quality. The truth in reflections. What had Eric hidden? She focused on the largest mirror behind the bar, studying its ornate wooden frame. Nothing obvious indicated a hidden compartment or mechanism. She ran her fingers along the carved edges, feeling for inconsistencies. Her phone chimed with a text. Olivia, need to talk. Medical emergency. The question mark was their code for private conversation. Min replied, yes, 1 hour. She needed to deal with Sean's body first. The fog provided excellent concealment as she drove through Oak River's nearly empty streets. Early Sunday morning meant minimal activity, with most residents either sleeping in or attending church services. She was halfway to the lake when headlights appeared in her rearview mirror. A black SUV gaining rapidly. Too rapidly for normal driving conditions. Min assessed options. The road to the lake was isolated, winding through dense forest. Perfect for an ambush. She accelerated, putting distance between her car and the pursuer while planning alternate routes. The SUV closed the gap with alarming speed, definitely pursuing her. Decision time. She couldn't lead them to her planned disposal site in confrontation on an isolated road. With a body in her trunk, presented unacceptable risks. Min made a sharp turn onto a Forest Service road, engaging her car's all-wheel drive as the pavement gave way to gravel. The SUV followed, headlights bouncing through the fog behind her. The service road narrowed, dense pines creating a natural corridor. Min pushed her car faster, using the fog as cover while calculating distances and opportunities. Half a mile in, she spotted what she needed, a sharp bend with a wide shoulder. She braked suddenly, pulling onto the shoulder and cutting the engine. In the same fluid motion, she grabbed her Glock from the glove compartment and exited the vehicle. The pursuing SUV would round the bend in seconds. She positioned herself in the trees, using the fog and foliage as concealment. The SUV appeared through the mist, slowing as the driver spotted her parked car. It stopped 30 yards back. A professional's caution. 2 men emerged, weapons drawn. Not Reed, but the same type, military, bearing tactical movements, scanning patterns that revealed professional training. Min waited, controlling her breathing. They approached her car cautiously, one covering while the other advanced. Standard 2-man procedure for unknown threat assessment. They reached her vehicle, peering inside before moving to the trunk. The moment of discovery was imminent. Min stepped from cover, Glock raised. Federal agent, she called, using the old authority that sometimes worked even when false. Weapons down. The men spun toward her, voice guns swinging in her direction. Min fired twice. Controlled shots that caught the nearer man in the shoulder and the second in the thigh. Disabling wounds, not fatal. She advanced quickly as they went down, kicking their weapons away while maintaining her aim. Who sent you? The wounded men glared up at her, neither speaking. Professionals, as she'd suspected. Harding Industries or Black Hawk, she pressed. The man with the shoulder wound spat. You're dead, bitch. You just don't know it yet. Unlikely. Min kept her voice level. Your employer wants something in my possession. That makes me valuable alive. Hat for now. The second man growled, clutching his bleeding thigh. Min heard the distinctive sound of a vehicle approaching. Reinforcements. She needed to move quickly. Tell Reed I know about Lydia Harding, she said, backing toward her car. Tell him I know Eric was murdered. She fired once more, into the SUV's front tire, before returning to her vehicle. By the time the men's backup arrived, she would be gone, using the network of Forest Service roads she had memorized during her 3 years in Oak River. Sean's body would have to wait. Her cover was completely blown now. The time for subterfuge had passed. When she returned to Ember, Olivia was waiting in her car behind the bar. The doctor took one look at Min's expression and followed her inside without questions. In the jammer-protected office, Min outlined the situation, including Sean's revelations and the morning's confrontation. She omitted only the detail of Sean's body in her trunk. So, Eric was CIA. Olivia looked stunned. And he was investigating Maxwell Harding, one of the most powerful defense contractors in the country. Apparently, Min paced the small office, and Harding's daughter Lydia was working with him, providing inside information. Who, the same Lydia you thought died in Bucharest? Min nodded. According to Sean, she survived and has been in hiding. Eric was protecting her identity. And now Harding's people are here for what evidence Eric hid. Yes, something in the mirrors, Sean said. Olivia frowned. The mirrors. Those antique things hanging around the bar. Eric insisted on their exact placement when we renovated. I never questioned it. Min stopped pacing. I need to examine them more thoroughly, but I'm running out of time. After this morning, Reed will escalate. What can I do? Medical supplies, ammunition if you can find it, and information. Anything you can discover about unusual patients or strangers in the area over the past few years. Min held her gaze. Someone has been helping Lydia stay hidden. Someone local. Olivia nodded. I'll see what I can find out. But Min, you should consider leaving. If these people killed Eric and are hunting Lydia, they won't hesitate to kill you too. I can't leave until I find what Eric hid. It's the only leverage I have. Min's expression hardened. And I need to know the truth about his death. After Olivia departed, Min returned to her methodical examination of the mirrors. Each one appeared normal upon casual inspection, but Eric had been thorough in his tradecraft. If he had hidden evidence, it would be accessible only to someone who knew what to look for. She focused on the mirror nearest the staircase, the one positioned at the most unusual angle. Its ornate frame featured intricate carvings of pine branches and mountain scenes, appropriate for a bar in the Pacific Northwest, but potentially concealing something more. As she studied the frame, her phone chimed with a message from her agency contact, Blackhawk Private Military Contractor, founded 2018, CEO Jackson Reed, former Delta Force, primary client Harding Industries. The confirmation of Reed's identity and Harding connections solidified her assessment. This wasn't random intimidation, but a targeted operation by professionals with virtually unlimited resources. Turning back to the mirror, Min noticed a small inconsistency in the carving pattern. Where the design repeated predictably around most of the frame, one section featured a subtle variation, a pine cone positioned slightly differently than its counterparts. She pressed it gently, feeling a slight give. Then, responding to intuition, she pressed it in a pattern, 3 short, 1 long. The CIA emergency signal. A soft click rewarded her efforts. The entire mirror swung outward on concealed hinges, revealing a hidden compartment built into the wall behind it. Inside lay a slim titanium case and a sealed envelope with her name written in Eric's familiar handwriting. Min's hands trembled slightly as she removed both items, closing the hidden door before retreating to her office. The envelope contained a single sheet of paper covered in Eric's neat script. Min, if you're reading this, then you've discovered what I hoped you never would need to. The case contains evidence that could destroy Maxwell Harding. Proof of illegal weapons sales to terrorist cells, bribery of government officials, and targeted assassinations of whistleblowers. I wasn't honest about who I was when we met. I was assigned to monitor you after Bucharest to ensure you had truly left the life behind. But I fell in love with the real woman beneath the cover identity. Everything between us was true, even if how we met wasn't. Lydia Harding survived Bucharest. She's been in hiding, protected by a network I established. Her father believes she died in the operation, and we've maintained that fiction to keep her safe while building a case against him. If you're reading this, I'm likely dead. Harding discovered my investigation. The hiking accident won't have been an accident. Trust no one completely. The truth is in the reflections. Not just this mirror, but all 7. Each contains a piece of the puzzle. I'm sorry for the lies, my love. I wanted to tell you everything, but knowledge would have made you a target sooner. Find Lydia. Finish what we started. Always Eric Min read the letter twice, emotions warring beneath her controlled exterior. Grief for the husband she had lost, anger at the deception, determination to uncover the full truth. Eric had been CIA all along, assigned initially to watch her, but eventually becoming her husband, a complex reality that both validated their relationship and cast it in a new light. The titanium case was secured with a sophisticated biometric lock. Min examined it carefully, finding a small optical scanner disguised within the locking mechanism. Not fingerprints, but retinal patterns. She positioned her eye before the scanner, unsurprised when it failed to unlock. The case would be keyed to specific individuals, likely Eric and possibly Lydia. Her phone rang, Marcus's number. "You need to get to Caroline's Cafe right now," he said without preamble, his voice tight with controlled urgency. "Reed and his men are there. Things are getting ugly." Min glanced at the case and letter. "How bad?" "They've got Caroline cornered, saying she's been hiding someone they're looking for. Sheriff's deputies are on another call across the county. I'll be there in 5. Min secured the case and letter in her floor safe, then retrieved her Glock and a backup weapon, a compact .280 for ankle carry. If Reed was escalating to public confrontation in daytime, the situation had shifted dramatically. She drove to Main Street, parking a block from Caroline's Cafe. The Sunday morning crowd that normally filled the popular breakfast spot was conspicuously absent. Through the large front windows, she could see Reed and 2 associates standing before the counter, where Caroline Weber, a 60-year-old grandmother who had run the cafe for decades, faced them with visible fear. Min entered quietly, assessing the situation. Reed turned at the sound of the bell, a cold smile spreading across his face. "Mrs. Nguyen, perfect timing. We were just discussing a mutual acquaintance with Caroline." Caroline's face registered relief at Min's appearance. "These men are looking for someone. I told them I don't know anyone by that name." "What name is?" Min asked, positioning herself to maintain sightlines on all 3 men. Reed studied her with predatory assessment. "Lydia Harding. Caroline has been receiving regular deliveries addressed to an L. Hart at a post office box. Medication specifically, the kind used to treat gunshot trauma." Min kept her expression neutral while processing this revelation. "Caroline involved with Lydia's protective network?" It seemed unlikely, yet Reed appeared confident in his information. "I don't know any Lydia," Caroline insisted, her voice quavering. "Those deliveries are for my cousin in Lake Grove. She can't drive into town herself." "Lying will only make this worse," Reed said, his pleasant tone at odds with the implicit threat. "We know Lydia Harding has been receiving support in Oak River. We know someone has been helping her stay hidden. Secondorum." "I don't know what you're talking about," Caroline repeated. Reed sighed as if disappointed, nodding to one of his men, who moved toward the cafe's back room. "Stop!" Min's command cut through the tension. "Whatever you're looking for, you won't find it here." Reed turned his full attention to her. "Agent Tran, or do you prefer Min now? We have unfinished business." "Outside," Min said evenly. "Leave Caroline out of this." "I'm afraid that's not possible. You see, we've tracked certain shipments to this establishment. Medical supplies specifically calibrated for a particular patient." Reed's gaze never left hers. "A patient with injuries consistent with those Lydia Harding suffered in Bucharest." Min gauged distances and angles, calculating her options if the situation deteriorated to violence. In close quarters with civilian presence, her choices were limited. "I encountered some of your men this morning," she said, buying time. "They seemed surprised when I mentioned I knew about Lydia being alive." A flicker of genuine surprise crossed Reed's face before he mastered it. "I'm impressed. Your information network must be better than we anticipated. Let Carolyn go. This is between us." Reed considered, then nodded to his men. "Wait outside." When they had exited, leaving only Reed, Min, and a terrified Caroline, he spoke again. "Here's the situation, Agent Tran. My employer wants certain materials recovered. Materials your late husband hid before his unfortunate accident. Provide those materials and this ends peacefully. And Lydia, not your concern. She's Maxwell Harding's daughter. I think that makes her very much my concern." Reed's expression hardened. "Lydia Harding betrayed her father, her country, and her own blood. She deserves whatever comes next. She exposed illegal weapons sales to terrorist cells, That's not betrayal. It's patriotism. Politics. Reed dismissed the distinction with a wave. The fact remains you have something we want, and we have the resources to take it by any means necessary. Min held his gaze. You've been watching Ember. If the evidence was easily accessible, you'd have taken it already. A calculated smile. Perhaps, or perhaps we're being methodical. The standoff stretched between them, Caroline watching with confused fear. 24 hours, Min finally said. Give me 24 hours to find what you're looking for. Reed studied her, assessing the offer. 12. After that, we stop being polite. He moved toward the door, then paused. And just so we understand each other, if you try to run, we'll burn Ember to the ground, with everyone inside. After he departed, Caroline collapsed onto a chair, trembling. Min, what's happening? Who are those men? Min went to her, crouching to meet her eyes. Caroline, I need the truth. Have you been helping someone named Lydia or L. Hart? The older woman's frightened gaze met hers. Dr. Chen asked me to receive some packages, medical supplies. She said it was for a patient who needed privacy. Her voice lowered. A woman recovering from domestic violence. That's all I know. The piece clicked into place. Olivia. The town doctor would have been the perfect person to help a wounded operative in hiding. And Carolyn's cafe, with its regular shipments of supplies, provided excellent cover for medical deliveries. Where does Olivia take these packages? Min pressed. I don't know. She picks them up here. Caroline looked desperate. Please, Min. I have grandchildren. I can't be involved in whatever this is. You're already involved, Min said gently. But I'll do everything I can to protect you. For now, close the cafe. Go stay with your daughter in Portland until this is resolved. As Caroline gathered her things, Min stepped outside, scanning the street. Reed and his men had departed, but she had no doubt they were maintaining surveillance from a distance. 12 hours to find Eric's hidden evidence. 12 hours to locate Lydia Harding. 12 hours before Reed's team stopped being polite. And Olivia, her supposed friend, had been concealing critical information from the beginning. Trust no one completely, Eric had written. His warning seemed increasingly prophetic. Min returned to Embermine, calculating options as the clock began ticking down on Reed's deadline. She needed to find what Eric had hidden in the remaining mirrors. She needed to confront Olivia about Lydia. And she still had Sean's body to dispose of before it was discovered. As she entered the bar, her instincts screamed a warning. Something had changed. The air felt different. She drew her Glock, moving silently through the dining area toward the back office. The floor safe stood open, its contents, including the titanium case and Eric's letter, gone. Someone had been there during her absence. Someone who knew about the safe and how to access it. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, Mirror Lake Cabin. 1 hour. Come alone or she dies. Attached was a photo of Olivia bound to a chair, a bruise darkening her left cheek. The trap was sprung, but not by Reed's people. Someone else had entered the game. Min gathered what weapons remained in her secondary caches, mind shifting into full operational mode. Mirror Lake lay 15 miles north of Oak River, remote, accessible only by a single winding road. Tactical nightmare for approach, perfect for an ambush. But she had no choice. Olivia, despite her apparent deception, was the only link to Lydia, and possibly the only person who could unlock the titanium case containing Eric's evidence against Harding. As she prepared to leave, a sharp knock came at the back door. Min approached cautiously, weapon ready. It's Marcus, called a familiar voice. I know what's happening. I can help. Min hesitated, weighing risks against assets. Marcus had law enforcement training and local knowledge, but trust had become a luxury she couldn't afford. Step back from the door, she instructed, hands visible. When she opened the door, Marcus stood, his directed arms slightly raised. His expression registered no surprise at her drawn weapon. You're not just a bar owner, he stated flatly. And you're not just a retired cop, she countered, noting details she'd previously overlooked. The way he stood, the calluses on his hands consistent with regular firearms, training, not just occasional use. A slight smile touched his weathered face. Seems we all have our secrets. He nodded toward her gun. Can I lower my hands? I've got information about Reed's people. Min gestured him inside but maintained distance. Talk. Reed's team has established checkpoints on all roads leading out of Oak River. They're stopping vehicles checking IDs. Marcus watched her process this. They're looking for someone specific. Woman 30s, dark hair, injured. Lydia Harding. Marcus's eyebrow raised. You know her. We've met. Min made a decision. Someone has taken Olivia Chen. Left me instructions to meet at Mirror Lake Cabin. Damn. Marcus's expression darkened. That's not Reed's style. He's military. Direct tactics, overwhelming force. This sounds like someone else. A third player. Min holstered her weapon but remained alert. I need to get to Mirror Lake without encountering Reed's checkpoints. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. There's an old logging road that connects to the North Shore. Overgrown but passable with the right vehicle. He hesitated. I'm coming with you. This isn't your fight. It became my fight when armed men started threatening people in my town. His steady gaze held hers. I'm not who you think I am either, Min. Or should I call you Mai? The use of her operative name sent ice through her veins. Who are you really? Someone who promised Eric I'd keep an eye on you if anything happened to him. Marcus's voice softened. He knew the risks of going after Harding, made contingency plans. The revelation shifted Min's assessment yet again. Marcus as part of Eric's protective network. Another layer of deception in the life she thought she understood. We leave in 5 minutes, she decided, and on the way you tell me everything you know about Eric's operation and Lydia Harding. As they prepared to depart, Min glanced once more at the mirrors lining Ember's walls. 6 remained unexplored, potentially containing pieces of evidence that could destroy Maxwell Harding and vindicate Lydia and Eric. But first she needed to rescue Olivia and determine who else had entered this deadly game of secrets and lies. The clock was ticking on Reed's 12-hour deadline. And somewhere in Oak River or its surroundings, Lydia Harding, the woman Min had believed dead for 5 years, was hiding, possessing the final pieces of a puzzle that had already cost multiple lives. Ready? Marcus asked, checking his own weapon, a .357 revolver that definitely wasn't standard issue for a small-town retired cop. Min nodded, mind settling into the cold focus of operational planning. Let's go find some ghosts. 20 minutes later, Marcus's truck bounced along the abandoned logging road, thick forest pressing in from both sides. The vehicle's suspension protested each rut and hole in the deteriorated track. Eric recruited me 3 years ago, Marcus explained as he navigated the treacherous route. I wasn't actually retiring from police work. I was transitioning to private security consulting, specialized protection for high-value targets. And Lydia Harding was your assignment. Min filled in, watching the woods for any sign of surveillance or ambush. Marcus nodded. Eric established a network around her, multiple safe houses, rotating security medical support through Olivia. The works. His expression darkened. When he died, I took over coordination, kept everything running. Why didn't you tell me? Eric's instructions. He wanted you completely insulated. Plausible deniability if anything went wrong. Min processed this information, reassessing the past 3 years through this new lens. So Lydia has been near Oak River this entire time. Off and on. We move her regularly. After Eric died, she insisted on staying close. Said there was something in Ember she needed access to eventually. The evidence in the mirrors. Probably. She never specified, and I never asked. In this business, the less you know, the safer you are, Min finished. The old operative's adage. They lapsed into silence as the road deteriorated further, forcing Marcus to slow to barely above walking pace. The truck crawled around a sharp bend, and Mirror Lake appeared before them. A small alpine lake nestled between pine-covered slopes, its surface reflecting the cloudy sky above. On the far shore stood a rustic cabin, smoke curling from its chimney. Marcus parked behind a thick stand of trees, concealing the vehicle from sight. The cabin belongs to a friend. Hunting retreat. He studied the structure through binoculars. No vehicles visible, no movement at the windows. Min assessed approach routes, noting the exposed shoreline they would need to cross. Classic bottleneck. Anyone inside would have clear lines of fire. There's a maintenance trail that circles behind. Marcus pointed to a barely visible path cutting through the woods to their right. Gives access to the rear of the cabin. You take that route. I'll approach from the front. Draw attention while you secure the rear exit. Min checked her weapons. If Olivia is inside, getting her out safely is priority one. And if it's a trap, then we find out who's setting it. She met his gaze. If things go sideways, don't wait for me. Get any intel you can back to your contacts. Marcus nodded, understanding the implication. They synchronized watches and separated Marcus disappearing into the dense undergrowth, while Min circled toward the main approach. She moved with the silent efficiency that had once earned her the codename Smoke, present but intangible, seen but impossible to grasp. The skills she had packed away for 3 years returned with muscle memory, her body remembering what her mind had tried to forget. The cabin's front featured a small porch facing the lake, 2 windows curtains drawn. Smoke continuing from the stone chimney indicated recent fire. Someone definitely inside. No vehicles visible, suggesting whoever had brought Olivia had either left or concealed their transportation. Min approached cautiously, using trees for cover, until she reached the final exposed stretch of shoreline. Nothing for it but to cross quickly and decisively. She drew her Glock and covered the distance to the porch in a controlled sprint, positioning herself against the wall beside the door. No shots fired, no reaction from within. Checking her watch, Marcus should be in position behind the cabin now. She called out, "I'm here, alone. Release Dr. Chen." Silence. Then a woman's voice muffled through the door. "Enter slowly, hands visible." Not Olivia's voice, younger with a hint of strain suggesting injury or exhaustion. Min calculated options, then complied. She opened the door with her left hand, keeping her right with the Glock visible but ready. The cabin's interior was Spartan. A main room with stone fireplace, minimal furniture. Olivia sat bound to a wooden chair, duct tape across her mouth, eyes wide with fear or warning. Beside her stood a woman Min had never expected to see alive again. Lydia Harding. Thinner than Min remembered, with a jagged scar running from temple to jaw, testament to the gunshot wound that should have killed her in Bucharest. Her dark hair was cropped short, her posture betraying an injury to her right side, and she held a compact pistol aimed steadily at Min's chest. "My Tran," Lydia said, her voice stronger than her appearance suggested. "Or Min Nguyen now. Close the door." Min complied, mind recalibrating. "You're supposed to be dead." A tight smile. "Thanks to you and Eric, I'm not. Though some days it feels like I might as well be." She gestured with the gun. "Your weapon. Place it on the floor." Slowly. Min carefully set her Glock down. "Why take Olivia? She's been helping you." "Insurance. I needed to make sure you'd come alone." Lydia's gaze never wavered. "Reed's people are closing in. I needed to accelerate the timeline. By breaking into Ember and stealing from my safe, I needed to see if Eric had left the final piece." Lydia's expression hardened. "Where is it? The key to the case?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't lie to me." Lydia's gun remained steady. "Eric said he left instructions for you. Said you'd know how to access the mirrors." "I only found one hidden compartment. It contained the case and a letter." Min kept her voice calm. "The case has a biometric lock I can't open." Lydia studied her face, searching for deception. Finding none, her shoulders slumped slightly. "Then we're screwed. Without the complete evidence package, we can't move against my father." Min glanced at Olivia, who was watching their exchange with wide eyes. "Let me remove her gag. She might know something we don't." After a hesitation, Lydia nodded. Min moved carefully to Olivia, peeling the tape gently from her mouth. "Are you hurt?" Min asked quietly. "Just scared," Olivia whispered. "Min, I'm sorry I didn't tell you." "Later." Min turned back to Lydia. "What exactly are we looking for? Eric's letter mentioned evidence hidden in all 7 mirrors." "Compartmentalized security," Lydia confirmed. "Each mirror contains a piece of evidence against my father. Financial records, weapons shipment, details, communications with terrorist cells, assassination orders." Her voice hardened. "Including the order for Eric's murder?" "And the case contains the master key, digital authentication codes that prove the evidence is genuine and unaltered." Lydia lowered her weapon slightly. "Without it, everything else is just circumstantial." How does it open a dual authentication? Retinal scan matched to both Eric and me. Lydia gestured to her scarred face. But my eye was damaged in Bucharest. The scanner won't recognize it anymore. A creak from the back of the cabin alerted them to another presence. Lydia spun, weapon raised again. "It's okay," Min said quickly. "He's with me." "Marcus?" The older man appeared from the hallway leading to the rear entrance, his own weapon lowered, but ready. "Place is secure. No sign of pursuit yet." "Team." Lydia's eyes widened in recognition. "Sullivan, you brought him." "He says he's been part of your protection detail since Eric died." Marcus nodded to Lydia. "Good to see you vertical for once, Ms. Harding. Usually you're half-conscious when I'm on watch duty." A small smile touched Lydia's lips. "Your bedside manner could use work, Sullivan." The momentary lightness faded as Marcus added, "We don't have much time. Reed's people have established a perimeter around Mirror Lake. Spotted them setting up on my approach." Lydia's expression tightened. "How the hell did they find us?" "The question isn't how," Min said, mind racing through possibilities. "It's who told them." She looked at Marcus. "You said you spotted them on approach, yet you came in through the back without warning us." Marcus's weathered face registered surprise, then resigned acknowledgement. "Smart. Always were, according to Eric." He raised his revolver, now pointed at Min. "Sorry about this." "Nothing personal." Lydia swung her weapon toward him. "You son of a bitch. You've been working for my father." "Not exactly." Marcus kept his aim steady. "Let's call it hedging my bets. Your father's reach is extensive. When Eric died, I saw which way the wind was blowing." "You betrayed Eric," Min said quietly. The revelation stung despite her operational detachment. Another layer of deception in the life she thought she understood. "I protected myself," Marcus corrected. "And I'm offering you all the same opportunity. Harding wants the evidence destroyed and his daughter returned. Comply and you get to live. Resist and Reed's team outside will ensure none of you leave this cabin alive." Min calculated angles and distances. Marcus stood 10 feet away, too far for a disarming lunge. Lydia maintained her aim but was clearly weakened by her chronic injuries. Olivia remained bound to the chair between them. "There's no scenario where I go back to my father," Lydia stated flatly. "He'll kill me the moment he has what he wants." "Probably," Marcus agreed, "but that's not my problem. My problem is getting out of this mess alive, which means delivering you and destroying the evidence." Min caught Lydia's eye, a silent communication passing between them. The younger woman gave an almost imperceptible nod. "The complete evidence package isn't in Ember." Min said, buying time. Eric established a dead drop, insurance against exactly this scenario. Marcus's expression revealed skepticism. "Convenient claim with no way to verify." "It's true," Lydia supported. "Standard protocol. Eric wouldn't keep everything in one location." Doubt flickered across Marcus's face, the hesitation Min had been waiting for. She dropped suddenly, snatching her Glock from the floor, while Lydia fired simultaneously. Marcus's return shot went wide as Lydia's bullet caught him in the shoulder, spinning him backward. Min's shot struck more precisely, center mass dropping him instantly. The sudden violence left a ringing silence in the cabin. Min moved quickly to check Marcus. A clean shot through the heart. No pulse. The man who had claimed to be Eric's ally and her friend was gone, his true allegiances dying with him. "We need to move," Lydia said urgently. "Reed's team will have heard the shots." Min freed Olivia, while Lydia gathered the titanium case and papers. "The truck's hidden in the trees," Min said. "But if Reed's people have surrounded the lake—" "There's a service tunnel," Olivia said, rubbing her wrist where the bonds had cut in. "Part of the lake's water management system, connects to the forest road on the other side of the ridge." Lydia nodded confirmation. "Emergency escape route. Sullivan showed me once." The irony that their betrayer had also provided their escape path wasn't lost on Min. "Where's the entrance?" "Utility shed behind the cabin. Looks like it houses water pumps, but there's an access hatch beneath the equipment." They moved quickly, gathering essential supplies. Min took Marcus's revolver and ammunition. Additional firepower they might need. Lydia retrieved a backpack containing what appeared to be medical supplies and additional documents. Outside, the first sounds of approaching vehicles reached them. Engines growling up the rough access road. They're coming from the east, Min observed, orienting herself. We need to move west. The utility shed looked exactly as described, a weathered wooden structure housing pumping equipment for the cabin's water supply. Inside, Olivia moved with surprising efficiency, shifting a heavy pump assembly to reveal a metal hatch set into the concrete floor. You've used this before, Min noted. Twice, Olivia confirmed. When we needed to move Lydia after her condition destabilized, the hatch opened to reveal a narrow metal ladder descending into darkness. Lydia went first, despite her injuries, followed by Olivia. Min took a final look around the shed, noting a stack of empty fuel cans in the corner. An idea formed. She grabbed one of the cans and a road flare from the emergency kit on the wall, then followed the others down the ladder, pulling the hatch closed behind her. The tunnel was low-ceilinged and damp, requiring them to move in a hunched position. A narrow maintenance walkway ran alongside a larger water channel, part of the lake's overflow system. Battery-powered emergency lights provided minimal illumination at 20-foot intervals. Half a mile to the exit point, Olivia said, leading the way with practiced familiarity. It emerges in a drainage culvert near the forest road. As they moved, Min processed the rapidly shifting reality of her situation. Lydia Harding, alive. Marcus, a traitor. Olivia, deeper involved than she'd admitted. And somewhere back in Ember, hidden within the remaining mirrors, evidence that could destroy one of the most powerful men in the defense industry. Why didn't you come to me sooner? Min asked Lydia as they navigated the tunnel. After Eric died. Too risky, Lydia replied, her breathing labored from her injuries. My father's people were watching you. Besides, Eric wanted you protected through ignorance. He loved you too much to drag you back into this life. The simple statement struck Min with unexpected force. Despite the deceptions, Eric had acted to protect her, keeping her separate from the dangerous operation he was running. How much time do we have before Reed finds the tunnel? Olivia asked. Not long. Marcus would have briefed him on all escape routes. Min held up the fuel can. Which is why we're going to collapse it behind us. Understanding dawned on their faces. The old burn the bridge strategy, Lydia said with grim approval. Just like Bucharest. The reference to their shared past formed a connection between them. Operators who spoke the same language of crisis management and tactical necessity. They reached a junction where the tunnel widened slightly. Min stopped opening the fuel can and beginning to splash its contents along the walls and ceiling. Keep going, she instructed the others. I'll catch up. Hurry, Olivia urged. Once they realize Marcus is dead, they'll come in full force. Min finished preparing the accelerant trap, creating a line of fuel leading back toward the cabin. She struck the flare, waited until its magnesium tip burned white hot, then placed it carefully at the start of the fuel trail. The fire caught immediately, racing along the prepared path. Min turned and ran, catching up to Lydia and Olivia as the first sounds of explosion echoed through the tunnel behind them. That should slow them down, she said, urging them forward as smoke began to fill the confined space. But we need to move faster. They continued their hunched progress through the tunnel, the sounds of structural collapse following them as the fire weakened ancient support beams. After what seemed like an eternity in the smoke-filled passageway, Olivia pointed ahead. There, exit hatch. The metal ladder led to another hatch, this one opening into a large concrete drainage culvert. Daylight filtered through a grated opening 20 feet ahead, partially concealed by overgrown vegetation. They emerged into the fresh air, the forest road visible through the trees 50 yards away. No signs of pursuit or surveillance. We're about 3 miles from my clinic, Olivia said, orienting herself. I have a vehicle hidden nearby for emergencies. Min nodded approval. We should separate. They'll be looking for a group. No, Lydia countered firmly. We need to get back to Ember. The evidence in the mirrors is our only leverage against my father. Reed gave me a 12-hour deadline, Min said, but that was before everything escalated. We need to assume they're moving on Ember now. Then we need to move faster. Lydia's determination was evident despite her weakened condition. Without that evidence, everything Eric died for means nothing. The truth of her statement hung between them. Whatever their personal stakes in this conflict, Eric's sacrifice demanded completion of his mission. Olivia, Min decided, take Lydia to your clinic, stabilize her condition. I'll go to Ember alone, less conspicuous, and do what against Reed's entire team Lydia demanded. What I was trained to do. Min checked her weapons. Create chaos and extract valuable assets. Olivia led them through the woods to a concealed equipment shed where an old Jeep was hidden beneath a tarp. It's not much, but it's got a full tank, and it's registered to a patient who died 2 years ago. As Olivia and Lydia prepared the vehicle, Min took a moment to study the woman she had believed dead for 5 years. Despite her injuries and obvious exhaustion, Lydia projected the same fierce intelligence and determination that had impressed Min during their brief collaboration in Bucharest. I never thanked you, Lydia said suddenly, catching Min's gaze. For Bucharest. You could have left me when the extraction went bad. That's not how I operate. Min's response was automatic, the code she had lived by, even when it cost her everything. No, it isn't. A ghost of a smile. Which is why Eric trusted you would finish this if necessary. She held out the titanium case. Take this. If I'm captured, I don't want it in my possession. Min accepted the case, feeling its weight, both physical and symbolic. We'll need your retinal scan to open it. Suctrum. If we manage to extract the evidence from the mirrors, we can worry about that then. Lydia's expression hardened. If not, destroy it. Don't let my father get his hands on it. You should have come to me sooner, Min said again, the words emerging from some deeper place than tactical assessment. I wanted to. Lydia's admission carried the weight of years in hiding. But Eric insisted it would put you at risk. He said you'd finally found peace after Bucharest. Her gaze held Min's. Was he right? The question lingered between them. Simple words masking a complex reality. Had Min found peace as a bar owner in Oak River, or had she merely been waiting for the past to find her again? We need to move. Olivia interrupted the Jeep's engine rumbling to life. Reed's people will be searching every road soon. Min nodded, decision made. I'll create a diversion near the main road, draw attention away from you. Get Lydia to the clinic, then secure transport out of Oak River. And you, Lydia asked. I'll meet you at Ember by nightfall. Min checked her watch. 7 hours from now. If I'm not there by then, assume I won't be coming. The unspoken implication hung between them. In their world, failure often meant death. Here, Olivia handed Min a small medical kit, just in case. With a final nod to both women, Min disappeared into the forest, moving parallel to the road, where Reed's forces would likely be establishing search patterns. The weight of the titanium case pressed against her back, a constant reminder of the stakes involved. Eric's final mission, Lydia's freedom. Justice for a corruption so deep it had infiltrated the highest levels of defense contracting. And perhaps, though she wouldn't admit it fully, even to herself, atonement for Min's perceived failure in Bucharest. Reed stood in Ember's main room, surveying the bar with calculated assessment. 6 of his men searched methodically through the premises, checking floorboards, walls, and fixtures for hidden compartments. Sir called one of his team from behind the bar. Found another one. Reed moved to where the man stood before the large mirror behind the main bar. Unlike the staircase mirror Min had already discovered, this one concealed its secret differently. The operative had removed a section of decorative molding to reveal a small compartment containing a sealed evidence bag with financial documents. Careful, Reed instructed as the man extracted the package. Harding wants everything intact for verification. Verification? The operative looked confused. I thought we were here to destroy evidence. Reed's expression revealed nothing. Our orders are to recover the materials and secure the Harding woman. What happens after that is above your pay grade. His secure phone vibrated with an incoming message. The display showed a simple text. Package compromised. Sullivan neutralized. Targets mobile. Reed processed this information with professional detachment. Marcus Sullivan had been their inside man for over 2 years, feeding information on Min Nguyen and helping track Lydia Harding's movements. His loss complicated matters. Change of plans, he announced to his team. Accelerate the search. I want every mirror opened and contents secured within the hour. And get the perimeter team back here. They're coming for the evidence. What about the locals? Asked his second-in-command, gesturing toward the windows, where several Oak River residents watched the activity inside with confused concern. Establish a cover story, gas leak, technical inspection, something plausible. Reed's tone made clear the priority. Anyone who interferes becomes a problem to be solved. As his team resumed their search with increased urgency, Reed studied the financial documents they'd recovered. Bank transfers, shell companies, weapons shipments disguised as agricultural equipment. The beginning of a paper trail that could destroy Maxwell Harding if it reached the right authorities. His phone rang, the private line only one person had access to. "Report," came Maxwell Harding's crisp voice without preamble. "Sullivan's been compromised. We've recovered partial evidence from the bar. Search continuing." Reed kept his tone professionally neutral. "And my daughter, mobile. Last confirmed location, Mirror Lake Cabin. Escaped before my team secured the site." A pause. "And Agent Tran, also mobile, likely heading back to secure the remaining evidence." Harding's displeasure was palpable even through the phone. "I'm tired of excuses, Reed. I pay you to solve problems, not create new ones. With respect, sir, we're dealing with two highly trained operatives protecting evidence dispersed across multiple secure locations. This was never going to be a simple extraction. I don't care about your operational challenges. I care about results." Harding's voice hardened. "Secure the remaining evidence. Capture my daughter alive. Eliminate anyone who interferes." A pause. "Including Agent Tran if necessary." "Understood." After the call ended, Reed surveyed the bar again, reassessing strategies. Min Nguyen, or Mai Tran, as she'd been known in her operative days, represented a more significant threat than he'd initially calculated. Her defense of the Mirror Lake location and elimination of Sullivan suggested she'd fully reactivated her operative capabilities, which meant this quiet bar in an insignificant town had become an active battlefield between professionals. "Sir called another operative. We've breached a second mirror. Contains digital storage." Reed moved to examine the USB drive secured in another evidence bag. 2 recovered, 5 to go. The clock was ticking. Min moved through the forest with practiced stealth, using terrain and vegetation for concealment while maintaining awareness of potential search patterns. The main road was visible intermittently through the trees where black SUVs passed at regular intervals. Reed's people establishing a search grid. She needed transportation, but more importantly, she needed information about the situation in Oak River. How many of Reed's team remained at Ember? What cover story had they established? Were locals being evacuated or contained? A clearing ahead revealed a small gas station and convenience store, marking the halfway point between Mirror Lake and Oak River. 2 of Reed's vehicles were parked outside, operators visible inside the store, likely establishing a checkpoint. Min circled to approach from behind, using the building for cover. Through the rear window, she could see 2 armed men questioning the elderly shop owner, while a third checked surveillance monitors. The tactical situation was clear: 3 hostiles likely armed with concealed weapons, rather than obvious tactical gear to maintain cover. 1 civilian. Multiple potential witnesses on the main road. She needed a distraction, not a confrontation. From her position, Min could see the propane tank exchange cage beside the building, a standard feature at rural gas stations. A vehicle pulled into the station, a local woman with children in the back seat. Opportunity presented itself. Min retrieved the road flare from her pocket, activated it, and tossed it precisely through the small gap in the propane cage. Not close enough to cause an explosion, but positioned to create smoke and trigger fire alarms. The effect was immediate. Smoke billowed from the cage, setting off the station's emergency systems. The operators inside reacted with professional assessment rather than panic, scanning for threats rather than focusing on the fire. As they exited to investigate, Min circled to the opposite side of the building. The civilian vehicles were evacuating quickly, including Reed's SUVs, pulling away to maintain their cover as normal travelers. In the confusion, Min slipped into the store, where the owner was on the phone with emergency services. She moved directly to the landline, mounted behind the counter. "Fire department's already been called," the owner said, noticing her. "I need to use your phone. Emergency." Min displayed a confidence that discouraged questions. The owner, distracted by the growing smoke outside, merely nodded and returned to watching the situation unfold. Min dialed a number she'd memorized 3 years ago, but never used. The secure line Eric had established for true emergencies. After 3 rings, a male voice answered cautiously. "Verification. Ember's Reflection Authorization Code 739 Whiskey Echo." The code Eric had made her memorize when they'd first established their emergency protocols. A pause then. Confirmed. Status. Eric's operation compromised. Evidence at risk. Lydia Harding secure for now. Need extraction and secure communication with federal authorities. Understood. Time frame. Immediate. Harding's team has control of Oak River. Assets en route. Estimated arrival 3 hours. Secure position and await contact. The call ended abruptly. Min replaced the handset mind processing implications. Eric had established a backup team. Resources beyond his CIA connections. Whether private contractors or trusted colleagues' help was coming. If she could hold out for 3 hours. Outside, the smoke was dissipating as local fire response arrived. Reed's people had withdrawn to maintain their cover, but would certainly maintain surveillance from a distance. Min approached the owner, who was speaking with a firefighter. "I need a vehicle. Emergency situation." The man looked startled by her directness. "What? Those men who were here, they're dangerous. I'm federal law enforcement." The half-truth came easily. "I need transportation to get back to town." Whether it was her authoritative tone or the suspicious behavior of Reed's men, the owner seemed to make a quick assessment. "Take my truck, out back." He handed her keys. "Betty needs it back in one piece." "Thank you." Min accepted the keys with genuine gratitude. "Stay here until the authorities secure the area." The owner's aged pickup provided inconspicuous transportation, exactly what she needed. As she pulled onto the main road toward Oak River, Min calculated her approach. Direct entry to Ember was impossible with Reed's team in control. She needed another way in, preferably one Eric might have prepared. The basement. Every historic building in Oak River connected to the town's original drainage system, a network of tunnels that had been incorporated into modern infrastructure over decades. Eric had shown her access points during renovations, ostensibly as historical curiosity. Now she understood it had been another contingency plan. As she drove, Min's thoughts returned to the mirrors and their hidden evidence. 7 mirrors. 7 pieces of evidence against Maxwell Harding, together enough to destroy him, but only if secured and delivered to proper authorities. And the titanium case in her possession likely contained authentication that would make the evidence irrefutable, if they could unlock it. The outskirts of Oak River appeared ahead, looking deceptively normal. Sunday afternoon quiet with few people visible on streets. No obvious security presence, though Min had no doubt Reed's team maintained surveillance throughout the small town. She parked the borrowed truck behind the local hardware store, choosing a location with multiple exit routes. Moving on foot would provide better tactical flexibility in the confined spaces of Oak River's downtown. A quick check of her phone showed no service. Reed's people had likely established signal jamming throughout the area, another sign they were operating with sophisticated resources and official cover. Standard civilian counterterrorism equipment required federal authorization, which meant Maxwell Harding's influence extended into government agencies, precisely what Lydia and Eric had been working to expose. Min moved through back alleys, maintaining cover while observing Ember from multiple vantage points. The bar appeared closed, shades drawn. 2 men in civilian clothes stood outside, tactical positioning disguised as casual loitering. Additional surveillance likely watched from neighboring buildings. The drainage access point nearest Ember was in the alley behind Caroline's Cafe. Men approached cautiously, alert for security measures Reed might have established if Marcus had informed him of the underground network. No obvious surveillance on the access point, a good sign. Either Reed wasn't aware of the tunnel system or he dismissed it as a viable approach. The access hatch was disguised as a standard utility cover. Min removed it quietly and descended into darkness, replacing the cover above her. The narrow maintenance tunnel smelled of damp concrete and stagnant water. Emergency lighting provided minimal illumination at intervals. According to Eric's old renovations map, this section connected to Ember's basement approximately 200 yards ahead. Min moved silently, every sense alert for signs of surveillance or traps. The tunnel intersection that should lead to Ember's basement was blocked by a newer concrete wall, a modification that hadn't existed during Eric's renovations. Someone had deliberately sealed this access point. Marcus Reed. Or had Eric himself closed this potential security vulnerability? Min examined the wall carefully, finding subtle tool marks around a section approximately 3 feet square. Not a permanent barrier, but a removable panel designed to look like solid concrete. She pressed experimental along the edges, feeling for a release mechanism. A slight give near the bottom right corner rewarded her efforts. The panel shifted, revealing a recessed handle. When pulled, the entire section swung inward silently on well-oiled hinges. Eric's work. The precision engineering and hidden access point matched his methodical approach to security. Beyond lay a short connector tunnel leading to a metal ladder. Min ascended cautiously, emerging through a concealed hatch into Ember's wine cellar, a small room adjacent to the main basement. Through the cellar door, she could hear movement and voices in the basement proper. Reed's people conducting their search. She needed to move quickly but cautiously. The cellar provided a perfect observation point. Through gaps in the wooden door, Min could see three of Reed's operatives methodically searching the basement, looking for additional hidden compartments or evidence caches. Their tactical communications suggested more team members throughout the building. Third floor clear, moving to second mirror location now. Cool, so they had already found at least two of the mirror's hidden compartments. Min weighed options. Direct confrontation against Reed's entire team was suicide. She needed to extract whatever evidence remained in the mirrors they hadn't yet discovered, then escape before they realized she was inside. But which mirrors remained unsearched? And how could she move through the building undetected with a full tactical team present? The answer came from an unexpected source. As the operatives moved to another section of the basement, Min noticed something she'd previously overlooked. A small dumbwaiter built into the wall. Originally used to transport wine and spirits from the basement to the bar level, Eric had maintained it during renovations as a historical feature. Now she wondered if it had served a more practical purpose in his contingency planning. The dumbwaiter was small, designed for crates, not people. But Min's slight frame might just fit if she positioned herself correctly. Waiting until the basement team moved out of sight, she slipped from the wine cellar to the dumbwaiter, opening its wooden door carefully to avoid noise. The interior was dusty but intact, the pulley system still functional. Min contorted herself into the confined space, pulling the door closed behind her. Using the manual pulley, she slowly raised the dumbwaiter toward the main bar level, every muscle straining to maintain silence. At the bar level, she paused, listening for movement, before carefully opening the access panel a fraction of an inch. The main room appeared empty, though voices came from the office area. Min slipped out of the dumbwaiter into the space behind the bar, maintaining cover as she assessed the situation. Reed's voice came clearly from her office. The financial records and the server access codes. Still missing weapons, shipment, manifest communication logs, and the assassination order. So they'd found two mirrors with three remaining undiscovered. But which ones? Min checked her mental inventory of the mirror's positions throughout Ember. The staircase mirror had contained the case and Eric's letter. The bar mirror apparently held financial records. That left the mirrors in the dining area, the hallway to the restrooms, the office, the entrance, and the small VIP section. From her position, she could see the dining area mirror, intact, apparently unsearched. The entrance mirror as well. Reed's team seemed to be working methodically from top to bottom, which gave her a small time advantage. Her office door opened, and Reed emerged with two operatives holding evidence bags containing documents. Check the dining area mirrors next. I want this wrapped up before nightfall. As they moved toward the dining area, Min needed to make a decision. She couldn't access all three remaining mirrors before being discovered. She needed to prioritize. The entrance mirror was least likely to contain critical evidence. Too public, too easily accessed. The dining room mirror would be searched momentarily. That left the hallway mirror or the VIP section. Eric would have placed the most damning evidence in the location with lowest traffic but highest security. The VIP section, a small private room Ember reserved for special events accessible only through a separate entrance that Eric had insisted on keeping locked except during scheduled use. Decision made. Min moved silently along the back wall, using the bar's architecture for cover. The VIP room entrance was 10 yards away, requiring her to cross an exposed section of floor visible from the dining area where Reed's team now worked. Timing would be everything. She waited until the team's attention focused on removing the dining room mirror from the wall, then moved, a shadow flowing across open space into the darkened corridor leading to the VIP room. The door was locked as expected. Min retrieved a set of picks from her pocket, working quickly, while maintaining awareness of movement behind her. The lock yielded within seconds. Quality but conventional, not requiring specialized tools. Inside the VIP room sat in darkness, shades drawn over its windows. The space was intimate, a private dining area with seating for 12 dominated by a large circular table. On the far wall hung the mirror Min sought, an ornate piece with intricate carvings similar to the staircase mirror that had contained the case. She approached it directly, fingers tracing the frame for the trigger mechanism. This time her search revealed nothing. No hidden switches, no altered carving pattern. Time was running out. Reed's team would finish with the dining room mirror, soon potentially moving to the VIP room next. Min stepped back, studying the mirror from different angles. Unlike the others, this one was mounted at eye level rather than higher on the wall. Its position suggested a different access mechanism. The retinal scanner on the titanium case provided inspiration. Min positioned herself directly before the mirror, aligning her eyes with their reflection precisely. Nothing happened. She adjusted her position slightly, then remembered Eric's emergency access code from the phone call. Ember's reflection. Ember's reflection, she whispered, maintaining eye contact with her mirror image. A soft click rewarded her intuition. Rather than swinging outward like the staircase mirror, this one slid upward, revealing a compartment containing a sealed metal container and another envelope. Min extracted both, quickly closing the hidden compartment. The envelope contained a single sheet with coordinates and a name, Captain David Harlow, Naval Intelligence. The metal container held what appeared to be a military-grade encrypted hard drive. Together with the contents of the other mirrors, this would complete the evidence package against Maxwell Harding. A noise from the bar area alerted her to movement. Time to exit. The VIP room had a secondary door, a privacy exit Eric had installed for high-value guests. It led to a short hallway connecting to the alley behind Ember. Min moved toward it only to freeze at the sound of the main door handle turning. Reed's team had arrived sooner than expected. With no time for the privacy exit, Min made a split-second decision. The VIP room featured a coffered ceiling with decorative panels between heavy wooden beams. She leapt onto the table, pushing upward against one panel to reveal an attic access point. The door began to open as she pulled herself into the narrow space above, replacing the panel just as Reed and an operative entered the room. "This is the last mirror on the main floor." Reed's voice came clearly through the thin ceiling. "After this, only the basement remains." From her concealed position, Min could see through small gaps between panels. Reed approached the mirror, directly studying it with professional assessment. "Sir," the operative said, "something's wrong. The dust pattern is disturbed." Reed's expression hardened as he examined the mirror frame more closely. "Someone's been here recently." He pressed his hand against the frame experimentally. "How does it open?" Sullivan didn't provide specifics on this one, just said it contained the assassination order. The mention of the assassination order confirmed Min's suspicion about the container's contents. Documentation of Maxwell Harding ordering Eric's murder disguised as a hiking accident. Reed continued his examination of the mirror, methodically testing different sections of the frame. It would be only a matter of time before he discovered the mechanism. Min needed a distraction, not a confrontation. Direct engagement would alert the entire team to her presence, eliminating any chance of escape with the evidence. Through the ceiling gaps, she could see the operative's radio clipped to his belt, the team's communication lifeline. An idea formed. Maintaining absolute silence, Min retrieved her phone. Though cellular service was jammed, the device could still generate electromagnetic interference if placed in the right mode. She activated an old CIA field trick, turning the phone into a localized signal disruptor by forcing it to broadcast on multiple frequencies simultaneously. Below the operative's radio erupted in static, then began broadcasting uncontrolled noise across multiple channels. Standard procedure would force the team to check for communications breach, potentially creating the diversion she needed. The effect was immediate. The operative's radio squealed with feedback, causing both men to flinch. "What the hell?" The operative adjusted frequencies, trying to isolate the problem. Reed's response was more analytical. "Someone's jamming us. Check outside. Could be federal interference." As the operative moved toward the door, Reed's secure phone rang. The call lasted less than 30 seconds, his expression darkening with each moment. "Change of plans," he announced when the call ended. "Harding wants us out. Too much local attention. Grab what we have and prepare for extraction. But we haven't found all the evidence." Doesn't matter. New orders. We're shifting to capture priority. The Harding woman has been spotted near the medical clinic. Min's breath caught. Lydia and Olivia had been discovered. Reed and the operative exited quickly, coordinating the team's new focus via alternative communication methods. Their departure left Min with both opportunity and a critical decision escape, with the evidence she'd secured or attempt to warn Lydia and Olivia about the imminent threat. The titanium case, the hard drive, and the documents together represented enough evidence to destroy Maxwell Harding if delivered to proper authorities. But Lydia's capture would render much of it unusable without her testimony and biometric authentication. Min descended from the ceiling hiding place, mind racing through options. The 3-hour window for extraction support hadn't elapsed. Help wouldn't arrive for at least another hour. She checked the VIP room's privacy exit, finding it clear. The alley beyond showed no immediate surveillance. Reed's team was likely consolidating for their assault on the medical clinic. Moving silently through the alley, Min maintained cover while working her way toward the clinic 6 blocks away. Her instinct demanded immediate intervention to protect Lydia, but tactical assessment suggested a different approach. Reed's team would be focused on the clinic, potentially leaving their vehicles and secured evidence less protected. If she could recover what they'd already taken from the mirrors, the complete evidence package would provide leverage even if Lydia were captured. A calculated risk, but one with potential strategic advantage. Min adjusted her route, circling toward the municipal parking lot where Reed's vehicles would likely be staged. Sure enough, 2 black SUVs sat in the otherwise empty lot, a single operative maintaining security while the others prepared for the clinic operation. The lone guard maintained professional vigilance position, offering clear sightlines to all approach vectors. Standard procedure would place secured evidence in the lead vehicle, likely the one the guard focused most attention on. Min needed a distraction that wouldn't immediately alert the team to a security breach. The nearby municipal building, closed on Sundays, featured an emergency alarm system with external access. 3 minutes later, the town's emergency siren activated its wailing, immediately drawing the guard's attention and triggering his radio. Min used the momentary distraction to approach from his blind spot, applying precise pressure to carotid arteries that rendered him unconscious within seconds. The SUV's security was sophisticated, but not impenetrable, especially not to someone with Min's training. Inside, she located a secured case containing the evidence bags Reed's team had collected from Ember's mirrors. Combined with what she'd already recovered, the package was nearly complete. Only the contents of the mirror currently being searched might be missing. Min transferred everything to a duffel bag from the vehicle, then moved quickly away from the parking lot. The unconscious guard would be discovered soon, especially after the emergency siren was investigated and found to be a false alarm. Her next move needed to be immediate and decisive. With Reed's team converging on the clinic, Lydia and Olivia faced imminent capture. But without secure communications, Min had no way to warn them. Unless Olivia's clinic maintained an old-fashioned emergency notification system, a blue light above the entrance that activated during urgent situations, visible from several blocks away. It predated modern communication systems, but remained functional as a backup. Min changed course, heading for the utility pole that connected to the clinic's power supply. The emergency light circuit would be isolated, designed for activation even during power failures. Locating the junction box required minimal time. Creating a controlled short circuit that would trigger only the emergency system without affecting main power demanded precision, but fell within her technical capabilities. Seconds later, the distinctive blue light above the clinic entrance illuminated, a clear warning to anyone who understood its significance. Whether Olivia and Lydia would recognize the activation as intentional remained uncertain, but it represented Min's best option for remote warning without exposing her position. With the evidence secured and warning delivered, Min needed an extraction point away from town center, but accessible to the support team Eric's emergency protocol had activated. The water treatment plant at Oak River's edge provided optimal characteristics: secure perimeter, minimal civilian presence on Sundays, and multiple approach routes. She moved quickly but cautiously, maintaining awareness of potential pursuit or surveillance. As she approached the facility's perimeter, movement near the main entrance caught her attention. 2 figures emerged from a service door, Olivia and Lydia moving with urgent purpose toward a maintenance vehicle. They had received the warning. Min altered her approach, intercepting their path while maintaining cover until confirming no immediate threats. Lydia, She called softly, revealing her position behind a storage container. Both women startled, then moved quickly toward her. Reed's team is converging on the clinic, Min explained without preamble. They've changed priorities. Capture over evidence recovery. We saw the emergency light, Olivia confirmed. I have a maintenance worker's ID that gives us access to the treatment plant. Smart. Min opened the duffel bag, showing them the evidence containers. I've recovered most of what was in the mirrors, plus what I took from the VIP room. Nearly complete package. Lydia examined the collection professional assessment, replacing exhaustion. The assassination order metal container. Here. Min displayed the container from the VIP mirror, along with coordinates and a naval intelligence contact. David Harlow. Lydia nodded recognition. Eric's contact outside CIA channels. Untainted by my father's influence. You know him. By reputation only. Eric trusted him. Lydia's expression tightened with pain as she shifted position. What's our extraction plan? Support team arriving within the hour. Water treatment plant provides defensible position until then. Olivia gestured toward the maintenance vehicle. That gets us inside the perimeter without triggering security alerts. Worker called in sick. His ID badge works until midnight. The plan had merit. Min nodded approval. Let's move. Reed will widen his search pattern once he finds the clinic empty. As they approached the vehicle, a distinctive sound cut through the ambient noise. Helicopter rotors approaching from the east. Too soon for the extraction team Min had arranged. Harding, Lydia stated flatly, recognizing the implication immediately. Private helicopter. He's coming personally. The development altered tactical considerations significantly. Maxwell Harding's arrival indicated escalation beyond Reed's parameters. A direct intervention suggesting desperation or determination beyond normal operational boundaries. Change of plans, Min decided. We need to separate the evidence. Too risky keeping everything together. Agreed. Hunam, Lydia's operative training reasserted itself despite her physical condition. Olivia takes the hard drive and financial records to the treatment plant. I take the communication logs and server access codes toward the extraction point. You take the assassination order and the case directly to Harlow's coordinates. The strategy maximized survival probability for at least some evidence reaching proper authorities. Classical intelligence compartmentalization. Extraction team's orders were to secure this location, Min cautioned. Text them updated coordinates using the emergency protocol. Lydia's decisiveness revealed her operational experience. My father won't stop until he has everything contained. Our only advantage is ensuring he can't secure it all at once. The logic was sound if brutal in its assessment. Division of assets provided the highest probability of mission success, though it increased personal risk. Agreed. Min divided the evidence according to Lydia's suggestion, keeping the titanium case and assassination documentation. Rendezvous point if we get separated. Harbor Point Lighthouse, 3 days. Lydia named a location 50 miles down the coast. If you don't make it, her voice hardened, make sure my father pays for what he's done. The moment carried the weight of operatives who understood the mission might demand ultimate sacrifice. I'll see you at the lighthouse. Min replied, refusing to acknowledge the alternative. They separated quickly, each taking different routes from the water treatment plant. Min headed southwest toward the mountains, where the coordinates indicated Harlow's location approximately 30 miles distant. Rough terrain, but navigable with proper equipment and knowledge. The helicopter sound intensified as it approached Oak River, confirming Maxwell Harding's arrival and the escalation of threat. Min increased her pace, putting distance between herself and the town while maintaining terrain awareness. Her secure phone vibrated with an incoming message. The extraction team acknowledging updated coordinates and confirming continued approach. Estimated arrival now 90 minutes, complicated by Harding's air assets in the area. The woods thickened as Min moved deeper into national forest land, providing excellent cover but slowing progress. She established a sustainable pace that balanced speed with stamina, knowing the journey to Harlow's coordinates would require hours of continuous movement through challenging terrain. Behind her, Oak River receded into distance. The small town that had been her refuge and home for 3 years now, the epicenter of a high-stakes intelligence operation. Somewhere within its boundaries, Lydia and Olivia executed their own extraction plans, each carrying pieces of evidence that could destroy Maxwell Harding, and pursuing them all, a private military force led by a desperate man protecting decades of criminal enterprise. Min checked her bearings against landmarks, maintaining course while processing the revelations of the past 24 hours. Eric's true identity and mission, Lydia's survival and connection to Bucharest, the elaborate protection network established around evidence that could bring down one of the world's most powerful defense contractors, and her own role, no longer the retired operative living in quiet anonymity, but once again my Smoketron, executing a critical mission with global implications. The titanium case pressed against her back as she moved its contents, potentially the key to everything. Without Lydia's retinal scan, it remained locked, a final safety measure Eric had established to ensure the evidence couldn't be authenticated without proper authorization. 2 miles into the forest, Min's tactical awareness signaled pursuit. Not immediate or direct, but methodical sweep patterns establishing search sectors from Oak River outward. Reed's team would have experts in tracking and wilderness operations, standard components of private military contractors specializing in extraction and rendition. She adjusted her route using creek beds and rocky outcroppings to minimize signs of passage. The old CIA techniques returning with practiced familiarity. How to move without leaving tracks, how to use natural features to mask direction, how to create false trails for pursuers to waste time following. The forest grew darker as evening approached, shadows lengthening between tall pines. Min maintained pace using natural light while available. Night would bring both concealment advantages and navigation challenges. A distant sound confirmed her pursuit concerns. Tracking dogs. Reed's team had deployed canine units, significantly increasing their effectiveness in forested terrain. Standard countermeasures would provide temporary advantage but not indefinite evasion. Min diverted to a small stream, following its course upstream to minimize scent trail. The water's cold bite against her legs was irrelevant compared to tactical necessity. She would need to establish distance advantage before nightfall. As darkness descended fully, the forest transformed into a landscape of deep shadows and limited visibility. Min activated the phone's GPS function, briefly confirming her position relative to Harlow's coordinates. Still approximately 20 miles distant, a challenging night journey through unfamiliar wilderness. The titanium case, evidence, documents, and weapons created significant weight. Necessary burden that nonetheless affected mobility and endurance. Min redistributed the load for optimal balance, then continued northwest along the bearing indicated by her brief GPS check. 4 hours into her journey with night fully established, Min's tactical assessment detected pursuit closing distance. The dog teams had overcome her countermeasures more quickly than anticipated, suggesting experienced handlers with sophisticated equipment. A ridgeline ahead offered potential advantage. Elevated position with clear sight lines if the pursuers used lights. Min adjusted course, increasing pace despite fatigue beginning to accumulate after sustained movement. Halfway up the slope, lights appeared behind her. Powerful tactical beams sweeping the forest floor in search patterns. Reed's team had abandoned stealth for speed, suggesting confidence in their superior numbers and resources. Min reached the ridgeline using a cluster of boulders for concealment while assessing the pursuit. At least 3 separate teams visible by their lights moving in coordinated patterns that would eventually converge on her position if she maintained current course. Tactical adjustment required. She studied the terrain ahead, identifying a steep ravine cutting across her intended path. Navigating it would slow her progress, but potentially create separation from pursuers less familiar with the landscape. Decision made, Min descended the far side of the ridge, using controlled slides where appropriate to increase speed while maintaining stability. The ravine appeared as a dark gash in the forest floor, its depth uncertain in the limited moonlight filtering through the canopy. As she reached the ravine edge, the sound of flowing water confirmed significant depth. A stream had carved this channel over centuries, creating both obstacle and opportunity. Min located a fallen tree, creating a natural bridge across the gap, testing its stability before committing to crossing. Midway across, a sharp crack announced structural failure. The dead wood, weakened by rot, gave way beneath her weight. Min lunged forward, barely catching the opposite edge as the tree collapsed into darkness below. Pulling herself up, she assessed damage. Minor abrasions, no serious injuries, but the noise would alert nearby pursuit teams, accelerating their convergence on her position. Confirmation came seconds later as shouts echoed through the forest lights, changing direction toward the ravine. Min moved quickly away from the crossing point, using the ravine's edge as a guide while maximizing cover. The pursuit lights grew brighter, converging from multiple directions. Standard procedure would call for establishing perimeter before thorough search, containing the target within a defined area rather than continuing pursuit through unfamiliar terrain at night. Men needed to break that perimeter before it fully formed. A game trail appeared ahead, cutting away from the ravine at an angle that would intersect with her original bearing. She followed it, increasing pace to exploit the clearer path while monitoring pursuit positions through their visible lights. The trail led to a small clearing dominated by a rock outcropping, a landmark likely visible on topographical maps Reed's team would be using. They would identify it as a probable navigation point and focus resources accordingly. Instead of crossing the clearing, men circled it, maintaining forest cover, while changing direction to create confusion for pursuers. The dogs remained the primary threat, their tracking abilities unaffected by her navigational deception. Fatigue began affecting operational efficiency, a physiological reality she acknowledged while pushing through. The mission parameters accepted no compromise for human limitations. Near midnight, precipitation began. Light at first, then intensifying to steady rainfall. Tactical disadvantage in terms of comfort and movement, but significant advantage for evading tracking dogs. Men adjusted pace again, accepting reduced speed for improved concealment as the rain washed away scent trails and mass movement sounds. 2 hours later, having maintained consistent northwest progress despite evasion requirements, Min allowed herself a brief rest. Physical reserves were not infinite, and tactical assessment suggested pursuit had lost direct contact, shifting to probable route interdiction rather than immediate tracking. She checked her secure phone, signal available in this elevated position, a text awaited from an unknown number, package 2 secured, proceeding to rendezvous. Lydia had successfully evaded capture and connected with the extraction team. 1/3 mission success confirmed. No word from Olivia with the remaining evidence. Either operational security maintenance or mission failure. Insufficient data to determine which. Min resumed movement after 20 minutes, body protesting but operational necessity overriding physical discomfort. The rainfall continued, reducing visibility but providing critical concealment advantages. By dawn, she had covered approximately 18 miles through difficult terrain. Harlow's coordinates lay less than 10 miles ahead, potentially reachable by mid-morning if pursuit could be avoided. The forest began thinning as elevation increased, transitioning toward alpine conditions with reduced canopy coverage. Tactical disadvantage in terms of concealment, but improved navigational efficiency and sight lines for detecting pursuit. Min located a vantage point offering visibility of the valley behind her. No immediate signs of pursuit, though distance and weather conditions limited effective observation range. The rain had stopped, replaced by patchy fog clinging to hillsides and filling valleys. Ideal conditions for concealed movement if leveraged properly. She continued northwest pace steady despite accumulated fatigue and minor injuries from night movement through difficult terrain. The mission parameters remained unchanged. Deliver the evidence to Harlow Authenticate. With the titanium case, ensure Maxwell Harding faced justice for his crimes. By mid-morning, Min approached the coordinates Eric had provided. The location resolved into a small hunting cabin set against a cliff face partially concealed by surrounding pines. No vehicles visible, no obvious signs of occupancy or surveillance. Standard protocol demanded reconnaissance before approach. Min established observation position with clear sightlines to the cabin and likely approach routes. 30 minutes surveillance revealed no movement or indicators of presence. Decision point: approach directly or maintain surveillance for additional confirmation of safety. The mission timeline and pursuit risk suggested direct approach as optimal strategy. Min advanced toward the cabin, maintaining tactical awareness and ready response posture. At 30 yards, the cabin door opened. A man emerged, mid-50s military bearing, despite civilian clothing, sidearm visible beneath an open jacket. He scanned the surroundings with professional assessment before focusing directly on Min's position, despite her concealment. "Agent Tran," he called, voice carrying just enough to reach her without excessive volume. "Eric Nguyen sent you." Not a question, a statement of operational certainty. "Captain Harlow," Min responded, maintaining position rather than exposing herself immediately. "Retired. It's just Harlow now." He made no move toward her, respecting tactical protocols. You have something for me. Verification first. Standard procedure between unknown operatives. Ember's Reflection Authorization Protocol 739 Whiskey Echo. He recited the same code Min had used on the emergency call. Eric established this safe house 3 years ago. Said someone might come with evidence against Maxwell Harding. The verification matched parameters. Min emerged from concealment, approaching directly while maintaining awareness of potential secondary threats. Inside, Harlow directed, gesturing toward the cabin. We don't have much time. The cabin interior revealed sophisticated communications equipment disguised within rustic furnishings, not standard hunting cabin accessories. You have the evidence, Harlow asked, securing the door behind them. Min removed the metal container and documents from her bag. Partial package. Assassination order documentation and supporting materials. 2 other packages with additional evidence are en route to secure locations. And the authentication key. She produced the titanium case. Biometric lock. Requires Lydia Harding's retinal scan, but her eye was damaged in Bucharest. Harlow examined the case with recognition. Eric showed me this technology. Dual authentication. Primary and backup. He looked up. You're the backup. That's not possible. I never provided biometric data. Not consciously. Harlow set the case on a table. Eric would have collected samples during your relationship. Standard intelligence procedure for secure authentication methods. The revelation stung despite its operational logic. Another layer of Eric's compartmentalized security measures, using their intimate relationship for mission parameters. Try it, Harlow encouraged. Position your right eye against the scanner. Min hesitated, then complied. The scanner activated a soft red light tracing her iris pattern. For 3 heartbeats, nothing happened. Then a distinct click as the locking mechanism disengaged. The case opened to reveal a sophisticated authentication system. Proprietary technology designed for verifying digital documentation beyond alteration capability. Military-grade encryption keys and certification protocols that would make the evidence irrefutable in any court or congressional hearing. With this, Harlow said quietly, Maxwell Harding's entire operation comes crashing down. Illegal weapon sales, government contract fraud, assassinations of whistleblowers. Including my husband, Min, added the personal stake in this mission, suddenly crystallizing beyond professional parameters. Harlow's expression softened slightly. Eric knew the risks. He also knew you were the only one who could finish this if something happened to him. Because I was his backup authentication. Or because you were the best operative he'd ever known. Harlow began connecting the authentication device to his communication systems. That's why he fell in love with you, you know. Not despite who you were, but because of it. The simple statement carried emotional weight Min hadn't anticipated. Throughout her operational career, her identity as Smoke had been professional asset but personal liability, the ghost who could never form attachments or trust connections. Yet Eric had seen through that, recognizing the person beneath the operative's facade, had loved both aspects rather than compartmentalizing them as she had always done. What happens now? She asked, professional focus, reasserting control over emotional response. I authenticate the evidence and transmit to secure federal repositories, multiple agencies simultaneously to prevent interception or burial. Harlow worked methodically with the equipment. Within hours, Harding faces arrest warrants he can't escape. Within days, his entire criminal enterprise collapses. And Lydia, protected witness status, her testimony combined with this evidence ensures conviction. Harlow paused, glancing up. Assuming she makes the rendezvous. Last confirmation indicated successful extraction. Good. He resumed work establishing connections and verification protocols. You should prepare for departure. Harding's resources remain substantial until federal action neutralizes his operation. As if confirming his assessment, a distinct sound reached them from outside. Helicopter rotors approaching from the southeast, the direction of Oak River. Expecting anyone on, Min asked, already moving toward the window for tactical assessment. Negative. Harlow's response carried operational precision as he accelerated his work with the authentication system. How did they track you here? Min scanned the approaching helicopter, civilian model but flying tactical approach pattern. Not me. The safe house location was in Eric's letter. If Reed's team found the other mirrors, they'd have the coordinates. Harlow connected the final components. Authentication process initiated. 12 minutes to completion and transmission. Can you relocate the equipment? Negative. Requires stable power and connection. Harlow retrieved a rifle from a concealed compartment. We hold position until transmission completes. The helicopter's approach vector confirmed intent, not search pattern, but direct targeting of the cabin's location. Whoever piloted it knew exactly where they were going. Defensive positions. Min directed falling into operational command naturally. Priority is protecting the authentication process. Harlow nodded agreement, moving to secure firing positions covering likely approach vectors. The cabin's construction provided reasonable cover, logs and stone rather than conventional framing. The helicopter circled once, then descended toward a small clearing 300 yards east of the cabin. Tactical disadvantage for approaching forces. Open ground across before reaching the structure. 6 minutes to authentication completion. Harlow reported dividing attention between monitoring equipment and defensive preparation. Min positioned herself with clear sight lines to the clearing, identifying figures disembarking from the helicopter. Reed among them directing tactical deployment with hand signals. And beside him a distinguished figure she recognized from intelligence briefings and news reports. Maxwell Harding himself had joined the pursuit. Harding is here personally, she informed Harlow, with Reed and at least 6 operators. Desperate men take desperate measures. Harlow checked his weapon. 4 minutes to completion. Reed's team established perimeter positions with professional efficiency preparing for assault on the cabin. Standard procedure would begin with demand for surrender, followed by escalating force if refused. Agent Tran, Reed's amplified voice confirmed tactical prediction. We know you're in there. Surrender the evidence and walk away. Mr. Harding is prepared to offer you immunity and relocation. One-time offer. Stalling tactic, Min assessed. They know we're authenticating the evidence. 3 minutes, Harlow confirmed. Once transmission begins, it can't be stopped even if they breach the cabin. Min calculated options, identifying optimal response to maximize mission success probability. I'll draw their attention. Create space for the authentication to complete. Harlow understood the implicit sacrifice in her suggestion. You don't have to do that. Yes, I do. Her decision was operational, not emotional. Mission parameters require evidence transmission above all other considerations. Before Harlow could respond, Reed's voice came again. 1 minute to comply, Agent Tran. Then we come in and take what we want. 2 minutes to authentication completion, Harlow reported. Min moved to the rear exit, checking weapons and mentally mapping terrain features that could provide tactical advantage. When transmission confirms get clear through the tunnel system Eric's surely built into this place, Harlow's expression registered surprise, then acknowledgement. Southeast corner beneath supply cabinet connects to a ravine exit half a mile away. Of course it does. A ghost of a smile touched Min's lips. Eric never left anything to chance. Agent Tran, Harlow said as she prepared to exit. When this is over, you should know there's still a place for you in the agency. People like you are rare. When this is over, Min replied, I'm going to rebuild my bar. The intelligence world has taken enough from me. She slipped through the rear exit into forest cover, circling to approach Reed's perimeter from an unexpected vector. The tactical situation remained stark outnumbered, outgunned, facing professional operators with superior resources. But they faced Mai Smoke Tran on ground of her choosing, defending something beyond professional obligation. They faced a woman protecting her husband's legacy and her own future simultaneously. Reed's team maintained disciplined positions, awaiting command to advance on the cabin. Min identified optimal disruption point, their communication coordinator providing tactical updates to distributed team members. She moved silently through underbrush, closing distance, while remaining undetected. 100 yards, 75, 50. At 30 yards, she deliberately created noise, snapping branch, rustling foliage. The communication coordinator turned toward the sound weapon raised. Min fired once, precise shot that struck his radio equipment rather than the operator himself. Not lethal force, but mission-focused disruption. The effect was immediate. Team coordination fractured as their communications hub went down. Reed directed forces toward the new threat vector, dividing attention from the cabin. Exactly as Min had intended. She moved again before return fire could target her position, creating impression of multiple attackers through strategic noise and minimal fire. Classic guerrilla tactics against superior force, disruption rather than direct engagement. Reed recognized the strategy but couldn't ignore the threat to his perimeter. He deployed 2 operators to track and eliminate, while maintaining primary focus on the cabin. Min led her pursuers away from both cabin and helicopter, drawing them deeper into forest terrain that nullified their equipment advantages while maximizing her movement capabilities. A check of her watch confirmed timing. Authentication should be complete or nearly so. Mission success now depended on Harlow successfully transmitting the evidence before Reed's team breached the cabin. Her diversion had bought critical minutes, but sustainability remained limited against professional track and eliminate teams. Min changed tactics, shifting from movement to ambush as her pursuers entered denser forest section. The first operator moved past her position without detecting her presence. As the second approached, Min emerged from concealment, disarming him with precise strike before he could alert others. A follow-up blow rendered him unconscious rather than dead, operational restraint rather than unnecessary elimination. His weapon and radio provided tactical advantages. Min used the radio to monitor team communications, confirming her diversion had delayed cabin breach by precious minutes. Authentication signal detected, came a fragmented transmission. Satellite uplink established. Mission success. Harlow had completed transmission. The evidence against Maxwell Harding was now beyond containment, spreading through secure federal channels where his influence couldn't reach. The operational dynamics shifted instantly. With primary mission parameters achieved, Min's priority became extraction and survival rather than continued engagement. She moved away from pursuit vectors, circling back toward the ravine exit Harlow had identified. If he had evacuated successfully, rendezvous became possible. If not, solo extraction remained viable given appropriate tactical approach. The sound of helicopter rotors spinning up confirmed changing tactical situation. Reed's team was preparing emergency extraction, standard procedure when mission parameters collapsed beyond recovery. Min reached the ravine, identifying the concealed exit point Harlow had described. No sign of the former intelligence officer, but operational timeline suggested he should have cleared the tunnel system by now. A single gunshot echoed through the forest. Location approximately where the helicopter had landed. Not tactical engagement pattern, but isolated report. Termination. Someone had been eliminated as mission failure consequences. Min maintained position, balancing tactical patience against extraction urgency. Minutes later, the helicopter lifted off, banking sharply away from the mountains. Emergency extraction under duress. Only when engine sounds faded completely did she advance toward the clearing, maintaining tactical awareness and ready response posture. The clearing contained a single body, not Harlow as operational concern had suggested. Maxwell Harding lay face up, a precise bullet wound, center forehead, indicating execution rather than combat casualty. His expression registered surprise, frozen in death. A man accustomed to power and control, confronting ultimate vulnerability. No sign of Reed or remaining operators, no indication of Harlow's status or location. Min conducted quick battlefield assessment, confirming no additional casualties or immediate threats. The helicopter's departure vector suggested return to Oak River rather than pursuit continuation. With primary mission accomplished and immediate threats withdrawn, extraction priorities shifted to rendezvous coordination with Lydia at Harbor Point Lighthouse. Min retrieved her secure phone, finding signal available in the clearing. A message awaited. Package delivered. Rendezvous confirmed. 3 days. Harlow had survived, successfully transmitted the evidence, and arranged extraction with Lydia. Operational success across primary parameters. A second message appeared as she watched Ember's reflection complete. Return when ready. Eric's final mission was complete. Justice for his murder. Exposure of Harding's criminal enterprise. Protection for Lydia. And perhaps most importantly, freedom for Min to choose her next path without shadows from her past. She turned toward the west, calculating routes to Harbor Point Lighthouse where Lydia waited. 3 days to cover significant distance through challenging terrain, but manageable with proper resource management and navigation. As Min began her journey, she reflected on the identity transitions of recent days. From Min Nguyen bar owner to my smoke tran operative, and now toward something new. Integration rather than compartmentalization. The bar was gone, her quiet life in Oak River destroyed. But unlike after Bucharest, this mission's completion didn't leave emptiness in its wake. Eric's final gift hadn't been the evidence or the mission, but the opportunity to reconcile the fragments of her identity into wholeness. The operative and the bar owner, the warrior and the widow, the ghost and the woman. 3 days to Harbor Point, then decisions about what came next. Rebuilding Ember elsewhere perhaps, creating something new from the ashes of what had been destroyed. Whatever form it took, Mai, Smoke Tran, and Min Nguyen would face it together. No longer separate identities, but integrated aspects of a single self. She moved west through mountain forests, leaving Maxwell Harding's body for federal authorities who would inevitably arrive following the evidence transmission. His death, likely Reed's final act before extraction, would complicate legal proceedings, but not derail them. The evidence would speak for itself. Eric's mission would be completed. Justice, if not in traditional courtroom form, had found Maxwell Harding. And Min Nguyen no longer running from her past as Mai Tran continued forward toward whatever future awaited beyond the mountain's shadow. 3 months later, a small bar opened in a coastal town 200 miles from Oak River. Its weathered sign read simply, "Phoenix," below a stylized bird rising from flames. Inside, patrons found warm atmosphere, excellent whiskey, and an owner who moved with the graceful efficiency of someone completely comfortable in her surroundings. If they noticed the strategic placement of mirrors throughout the establishment, none mentioned it. Sometimes a dark-haired woman with a distinctive facial scar visited, sitting at the corner table with clear sight lines to all entrances. She and the owner would talk late into the evening, their conversation inaudible to other patrons. And occasionally, a retired naval intelligence officer would stop by bringing news of ongoing federal investigations into defense contracting corruption. The bar's owner never discussed her past, but locals noted that despite her quiet demeanor, nothing in her establishment ever seemed to happen without her awareness. As if she could somehow see everything, anticipated every development before it occurred. They attributed it to excellent hospitality skills. The truth has always remained reflected in ways only those who knew where to look might recognize. The coastal rains drummed against Phoenix's windows, turning the afternoon into premature twilight. Min wiped down the bar's polished surface, her movements carrying the same economical grace that had once made her one of the CIA's most effective operatives. 6 months had passed since Oak River. 6 months since the evidence against Maxwell Harding had become public, triggering congressional hearings, federal indictments, and the systematic dismantling of his defense contracting empire. 6 months since she had walked away from Mai Smoke Tran for the second time, determined to rebuild a life on her own terms. Phoenix was an ember. The coastal town of Westport bore little resemblance to the mountain community where she had spent 3 years as Eric's widow. But something about the salt air and the rhythm of fishing boats returning to harbor each evening had called to her a place to begin again, where the ocean could wash away the ashes of her past. The bar's evening crowd was beginning to filter in local fishermen, teachers from the small community college, tourists seeking shelter from the persistent November rain. Familiar faces that had gradually accepted the quiet Vietnamese-American woman who served excellent whiskey and asked few questions. None of them knew about Oak River, about Harding Industries, about the classified congressional testimony she had provided 3 months ago detailing Eric's murder and the criminal enterprise that had orchestrated it. The door opened, admitting a gust of wind and rain, along with a tall figure in a weatherproof jacket. Min's hand instinctively moved toward the concealed weapon beneath the bar-old habits, before recognizing Harlow as he shook water from his coat. "Terrible day for sailing," he commented, taking a seat at the bar. "But the bourbon makes up for it." Min poured as usual without being asked. "You're 2 weeks early." Their arranged check-ins occurred monthly, Harlow's way of maintaining connection to the case that had consumed the final years of his naval intelligence career before retirement. Congressional committee finished final hearings yesterday. He accepted the bourbon, studying the amber liquid, rather than meeting her eyes directly. "Thought you should know in person, rather than reading it in tomorrow's papers." Something in his tone triggered Min's operational awareness. "What happened?" "They're burying it." Harlow's voice remained controlled, though anger simmered beneath the professional demeanor. "National security implications too sensitive for public disclosure. Sealed testimony. classified findings. The news shouldn't have surprised her. The evidence against Harding Industries had implicated senior Defense Department officials, cabinet members, even Congressional Oversight Committee representatives. The kind of systemic corruption that governments preferred to handle internally rather than expose to public scrutiny. The indictments, she asked, though she already anticipated the answer, reduced to contract fraud and tax evasion for the surviving executives. Most charges dismissed for lack of admissible evidence once the committee classified everything. Harlow took a long swallow of bourbon. Reed disappeared completely, likely operating under new identity with private contractor somewhere. Min absorbed this with outward calm, though rage burned beneath her controlled expression. Eric's murder, Lydia's years in hiding, the destruction of Ember, all reduced to minor financial crimes and administrative penalties. They're afraid, Harlow continued, keeping his voice low, despite the ambient noise of the growing evening crowd. The evidence we provided revealed weaponry being diverted to groups that later used them against American forces. Admitting that publicly would destroy careers and potentially destabilize defense structures. So they protect the guilty to save appearances. Tale as old as government itself, he finished his bourbon. I'm sorry, Min. We delivered irrefutable evidence. Politics decided it wasn't convenient to refute. She poured him another drink, mind processing implications. Does Lydia know? Not yet. Her protective custody continues under the arrangement, but the testimony she prepared to deliver won't be required. Harlow studied her face. She's scheduled to enter witness protection next month. New identity relocated overseas. The information carried weight beyond its operational significance. Lydia was the last connection to Eric's final mission, the living proof of what they had fought to expose. Her disappearance into witness protection would close that chapter permanently. She deserves better, Min said quietly. We all do. Harlow's response carried resignation earned through decades in intelligence work. But this is the system we have. The evening progressed with surface normalcy drinks, served conversations flowing around the bar locals, seeking respite from weather and workday concerns. Min moved through her routines with practiced efficiency while her mind processed the implications of justice denied. After Harlow departed, she closed Phoenix at the usual hour, secured the premises, and climbed the stairs to her apartment above the bar. Unlike her living space at Ember, this one contained more personal touches, photographs, books, small mementos, collected over 6 months of rebuilding identity. She removed the furthest photograph from its frame, Eric on their wedding day, revealing a small keycard hidden behind it. The secure satellite phone activated with a soft hum connecting to networks beyond civilian accessibility. Min typed a brief message. Justice deferred. Phoenix position compromised. The response came within minutes. Understood. Contingency protocol activated. Stand by. She replaced the phone in its hiding place. Decision made. Phoenix had been built as both business and operational cover, a position from which she could monitor the Harding investigation while rebuilding civilian identity. With the investigation effectively terminated, the bar's strategic purpose ended. More importantly, the government's decision to bury the evidence meant Eric's killers would escape true justice. That reality shifted Min's personal calculus significantly. Morning brought pewter skies and continued rain. Min opened Phoenix for breakfast service, coffee, and pastries for locals heading to work. By mid-morning, a familiar black SUV parked across the street, its government plates confirming her expectation. Olivia Chen entered, shaking rain from her umbrella. 6 months had changed her little. The same capable confidence, though now she wore the subtle indicators of federal service rather than small-town doctor. Nice place, she commented, taking a seat at the bar. Different from Ember, but it suits you. You're not here to critique my design choices. Min poured coffee without being asked. No. Olivia accepted the cup. Committee findings released internally yesterday. You've heard Harlow told me. Then you understand the situation has changed. Olivia glanced around, ensuring privacy despite the nearly empty bar. Your testimony has been sealed. Official narrative places Maxwell Harding's death as suicide following financial irregularities discovery. Convenient fiction. Necessary compartmentalization, according to the director. Olivia's expression revealed her own skepticism about the official position. They're offering you formal reinstatement, full credentials, operational authorization, clean record. The offer shouldn't have surprised Min, yet somehow it did. After Bucharest, her exit from the agency had been non-negotiable. An operative who had failed her mission and suffered psychological consequences deemed incompatible with continued service. Why now? She asked, though several potential answers already presented themselves. Because you proved your capabilities in Oak River. Because the evidence you secured revealed vulnerabilities in defense contracting oversight that need addressing from within. Olivia hesitated. And because Reed is still out there operating under new employment. The last reason carried implications beyond professional consideration. Reed, the mercenary who had destroyed Ember, hunted Lydia, and likely executed Maxwell Harding under orders, remained active despite the congressional whitewash. The agency wants him contained, Min stated rather than asked. The agency wants intelligence on his new employer and operations. You understand his methods better than anyone currently active. There it was, the true purpose behind Olivia's visit. Not job offer, but recruitment for specific targeting operation. I left that life behind, twice now. Min refilled coffee cups for the few customers seated at tables. Building something new here. When are you? Olivia's question carried genuine curiosity rather than challenge. Or are you waiting for something to find you again? The question echoed Lydia's from 6 months earlier in the forest. Had Min found peace as a bar owner, or merely paused between operational phases? Tell the director I'm flattered but not interested. Min maintained professional detachment, despite the question stirring beneath surface calm. Phoenix works for me. Olivia nodded, accepting the response without argument. Fair enough, but take this anyway. She placed a small business card on the bar. Just in case you change your mind. After Olivia departed, Min examined the card blank, except for a phone number with international dialing code. Direct line to whoever had authorized the recruitment approach. A door left deliberately open. She tucked it into her pocket, returning to morning routines while processing implications. The agency's interests suggested changing operational priorities. Reed's new employment represented sufficient threat to justify reactivating burned assets. And most significantly, the official burial of Harding evidence indicated broader conspiracy than originally assessed. The day progressed with apparent normalcy, though Min's situational awareness remained elevated. Standard procedure following attempted recruitment included surveillance assessing response and potential receptiveness to follow-up approach. By evening, she had identified 2 probable observation positions: apartment across the street, with excellent sightlines to Phoenix's entrance, and a commercial delivery van with suspicious duration in the public parking area. Professional courtesy meant they would maintain distance rather than obvious monitoring. Min allowed them their space, neither acknowledging nor challenging their presence. As she closed for the night, a text arrived from an unknown number. Harbor Point, full moon, old friend. Lydia. The message's timing following official shutdown of the Harding investigation couldn't be coincidental. Harbor Point Lighthouse had been their emergency rendezvous 6 months earlier, a connection point only they and Harlow knew about. Decision point. Maintain Phoenix position and civilian cover, or respond to operational contact from former asset now entering witness protection. Min secured the bar as usual, showing no external indication of the tactical assessments processing internally. If agency surveillance monitored her movements, standard counters would be required before meeting Lydia. The full moon meant 3 days lead time, sufficient for preparation and surveillance detection routes if properly executed. In her apartment, Min activated the secure phone again. Harbor Point contact initiated. Surveillance active on Phoenix position. The response confirmed operational support remained available. Assets standing by. Authorization code confirms legitimate contact. Proceed with caution. 3 days to prepare extraction from Phoenix, establish counter-surveillance measures, and reach Harbor Point without compromising Lydia's security. Operational planning rather than bar management now dominated Min's mental processes. The transition occurred with unsettling ease, civilian identity receding as operative capabilities resurged. The woman who had built Phoenix found herself once again becoming my smoke Tran, whether she had consciously chosen that path or not. Perhaps Olivia's question held more insight than initially recognized. Was Min truly building something new or merely waiting for the past to reclaim her? Either way, Harbor Point awaited. and with it whatever operation Lydia Harding deemed important enough to risk contact before entering witness protection forever. The pieces had begun moving again in a game Min had believed finished. This time she would ensure the final outcome served true justice rather than political convenience. Eric deserved nothing less. Harbor Point Lighthouse stood sentinel on jagged rocks extending into the Pacific, its beams sweeping across dark waters with mechanical precision. Fog shrouded its lower levels, creating the impression of a structure floating between sea and sky. Min approached from the maintenance road, having left her vehicle 2 miles back, and continued on foot. 3 days of careful preparation had culminated in this moment. Her surveillance clear identity secured tactical awareness at maximum sensitivity. The lighthouse itself was automated, now its keeper's quarters preserved as historical landmark, but unoccupied. Ideal location for clandestine meeting, isolated, defensible, with clear approach vectors visible from elevated position. She circled the structure, once confirming no unexpected presence before approaching the keeper's quarters entrance. The door was unlocked as operational protocols suggested Lydia had arrived first and secured the location. Inside, darkness dominated except for moonlight filtering through salt-crusted windows. Min moved silently through the ground floor, senses alert for any indication of presence. Upper level, came Lydia's voice from the circular staircase. Clear sightlines. Min ascended to find the former operative positioned near windows overlooking both land and sea approaches. Despite 6 months of healing, Lydia still carried physical markers of her ordeal, the facial scar slight favoring of her right side, the hyper-vigilance of someone who had spent years as hunted prey. "You look well," Lydia offered as greeting. "Civilian life suits you better than it did me. Appearances can mislead." Min positioned herself with equal tactical advantage. "Witness protection begins soon. That's why I needed to see you first." Lydia gestured toward a table where documents lay arranged in precise order. "What I'm about to show you violated every security protocol they've established for my protection. If they knew I maintained these copies..." Min examined the materials portions of the evidence they had recovered from Ember's mirrors, supplemented with additional documentation Lydia had apparently compiled separately. The congressional committee buried everything Min noted, classified and sealed, because the evidence reveals something beyond Harding Industries' criminal operations. Lydia indicated specific documents. These communication logs show coordination with a larger entity codename Pantheon, multinational private intelligence and security organization operating beyond governmental oversight. Min studied the materials with operational assessment. Encrypted communications, financial transfers, operational directives, all indicating sophisticated infrastructure beyond single corporate entity. "My father wasn't the mastermind," Lydia continued. "He was a division head within Pantheon's Operation Weapons Procurement and Distribution. When I began gathering evidence against him, I inadvertently captured indicators of the broader organization, which explains the extreme measures taken to recover the evidence." Min processed implications rapidly. "And why Reed's team operated with resources beyond standard private military contractors?" "Exactly." Lydia organized additional documents. "Reed works directly for Pantheon, not Harding Industries. He was assigned to my father's division for the recovery operation, but his primary loyalty was always to the parent organization." The revelation shifted contextual understanding significantly. Not corporate criminal conspiracy, but something more dangerous: private intelligence apparatus with apparent reach into governmental structures across multiple countries. "You've been investigating this for 6 months, Min observed, "while allegedly in protective custody." A tight smile. "The protection protocols created excellent cover for continued intelligence gathering. Federal resources without direct oversight. Does Harlow know? Components only. Operational security required compartmentalization." Lydia hesitated. "The agency tried to recruit you yesterday. Olivia's approach wasn't coincidental." Min's tactical assessment elevated immediately. "You're coordinating with them?" "Not exactly." Lydia's expression revealed professional calculation. "They want Reed for their own reasons, likely counterintelligence concerns about his new operational role. I need him for what he knows about Pantheon's structure and leadership. You're using agency resources to pursue personal mission objectives." Min recognized the strategy from her own operational history. Dangerous approach. Calculated risk. Lydia indicated the lighthouse with a gesture. In 48 hours, Lydia calculated risk. Lydia indicated the lighthouse with a gesture. In 48 hours, Lydia Harding disappears forever into witness protection. New identity and new location completely removed from this investigation. But what I've uncovered about Pantheon can't disappear with me. The implication was clear. Lydia had arranged this meeting to transfer operational responsibility, passing the mission to someone she trusted to continue what she could not. You want me to pursue Pantheon? Min kept her voice neutral despite recognition of the significant request. I want justice for Eric, for the operatives killed in Bucharest, for everyone Pantheon has eliminated to protect their operation. Lydia's intensity revealed the personal stake beneath professional presentation. The Congressional Committee buried the evidence because Pantheon's influence reached key members. This goes beyond politics into something more dangerous. Min studied the younger woman carefully. Despite physical recovery, Lydia carried the psychological weight of years spent in hiding, watching her father's criminal enterprise from within, gathering evidence that governments proved unwilling to act upon. What exactly are you proposing? A parallel investigation, outside official channels but leveraging resources where available. Lydia indicated the documents. These provide starting framework, key personnel, operational structures, financial networks. Enough to begin untangling Pantheon's organization. And read. Primary target for intelligence gathering. He knows Pantheon's command structure from direct experience. The agency wants him for counterintelligence reasons, but his value extends beyond their current parameters. The operational scope represented significant commitment, not short-term mission, but potentially years of careful investigation and evidence compilation, far beyond Min's intended return to civilian identity. You're asking me to abandon everything I've built since Oak River, return to operational status without official sanction or support. I'm asking you to finish what Eric started. Lydia's direct approach stripped away tactical positioning. He believed you were the only one who could if something happened to him. That's why he made you the backup authentication. He trusted your capabilities above anyone else's. The invocation of Eric's confidence carried emotional weight Min hadn't expected. Their relationship had been built on multiple layers, husband and wife certainly, but also operative and handler, as she had later discovered. His belief in her capabilities represented professional assessment from someone who understood exactly what my Smoketron could accomplish. What about Harlow? He has resources, connections, limited operational mobility. Too many eyes on him since the congressional hearings. Lydia organized the documents into a secure case. Besides, Pantheon knows his identity and connection to the Harding evidence. You remain relatively unknown, Mytron, officially inactive, Min and Nguyen, established with credible civilian cover. The tactical assessment was sound, though Min suspected Lydia's selection involved additional factors beyond operational logic. They shared connection through Eric, mentor to Lydia, husband to Min. Both had experienced betrayal and loss through Pantheon's actions. Both understood the personal stake beyond professional parameters. You've already made arrangements, Min noted, recognizing preparatory elements in Lydia's presentation. Regardless of my decision. A slight smile acknowledged the accurate assessment. Operational contingencies require advanced preparation. But yes, support infrastructure exists if you accept the mission. And if I decline, then I turn everything over to Harlow before entering witness protection. The mission continues with lower probability of success, but doesn't terminate completely. Min moved to the window, studying the moonlit coastline while processing decision parameters. Phoenix represented hard-won stability after operational chaos. Pursuing Pantheon meant returning to the shadows potentially for years. Operating without official sanction meant limited resources against seemingly unlimited adversary capabilities. Yet Eric had believed she could succeed where others would fail. The Titanium case's biometric lock had recognized her as authorized backup, his confidence embedded in physical form. What's the immediate objective? Min asked, decision forming through professional assessment rather than emotional response. Lydia recognized the implicit acceptance proceeding directly to operational briefing. Reed has established new operational base in Bangkok, apparently coordinating Pantheon Southeast Asian activities following restructuring after the Harding investigation. Bangkok provides excellent operational cover and limited extradition risk, Min noted. Smart tactical positioning. Initial phase requires confirmation of his activities and organizational structure. Intelligence gathering rather than direct engagement. Lydia extracted specific documents from the case. These provide background on known Pantheon operations in the region and potential collaborators. The operational parameters aligned with Min's specialized capabilities. Intelligence gathering under deep cover had been MyTran's primary function, before Bucharest moving like smoke through complex environments extracting information without leaving traces. The agency's recruitment approach was tied to this, Min realized, connecting components. They want Reed for their purposes, but you've been feeding them intelligence to facilitate my involvement. Mutually beneficial arrangement without revealing my independent investigation. Lydia didn't bother denying the manipulation. Their resources help locate Reed. Our operation determines what happens with that intelligence. The strategy demonstrated sophisticated operational planning, leveraging official resources for unauthorized mission parameters. Risky approach that could trigger significant blowback if discovered, but potentially effective if properly managed. Timeline at Min asked implicit acceptance of mission parameters now established. 48 hours until my witness protection protocol activates. Support assets in place in Bangkok within 72 hours. Lydia provided operational details with professional precision. Communications protocols and emergency extraction procedures outlined in these documents. Min absorbed the information mined already transitioning toward operational planning. Phoenix would require appropriate closure, nothing suspicious that might trigger agency monitoring sufficient cover story to explain her departure from Westport. The secure phone would need activation under new protocols, equipment requisition through Lydia's established channels, travel documentation with appropriate cover identity. Most importantly, mental preparation for returning to operational status after months of civilian integration. The transition from Mint Nguyen to MyTran wouldn't be merely external this time, not separate identities, but integrated operational approach, combining both aspects of her experience. I'll need 3 days for proper extraction from current position, Min determined. Clean separation without triggering surveillance concerns. Understood. Safe house established in Seattle for preliminary briefing and equipment distribution. Lydia provided address details through secured communication protocol. Harlow will handle initial orientation before my departure. The operational framework established personal considerations emerged beneath professional planning. Min studied Lydia, the young operative whose death in Bucharest had driven her from the agency, whose survival had pulled her back into operational life in Oak River, and whose mission now redirected her future yet again. Will I see you again after tonight? Min asked, question bridging professional and personal concerns. Unlikely. Witness protection protocols specifically designed to prevent continued connection to previous operational contacts. Lydia's professional demeanor softened slightly. But if we succeed against Pantheon, perhaps someday operational security parameters might allow reconnection. The practical assessment acknowledged hard reality. Their paths diverged after tonight's meeting. Lydia into carefully constructed anonymity, Min toward dangerous operational engagement with an adversary of unknown dimensions. Eric would be proud of you, Min said, offering rare personal acknowledgement. Completing the mission despite every obstacle. He'd be prouder of you for accepting it. Lydia's response carried similar recognition. He always said you were the best he'd ever worked with. That's why he fell in love with you. The simple statement carried emotional complexity Min wasn't prepared to address directly. Instead, she focused on operational preparations, reviewing materials, while Lydia outlined additional details about Pantheon's known structure and Reed's probable operational parameters. Dawn approached before they completed comprehensive briefing. Lydia secured remaining documents in specialized container designed for destruction if compromised. 48 hours, she reminded, as they prepared to depart via separate routes. After that communication, only through established protocols in the briefing materials. Min nodded acknowledgement, operational parameters clear, despite the personal undercurrents of their final meeting. Be safe, Lydia. You be effective, Mai. The use of her operative name served as both acknowledgement and activation. Pantheon has existed in shadows for too long. Time they face the light. They separated without further ceremony, professional operators understanding the mission requirements beyond personal connection. Lydia disappeared into lingering coastal fog, beginning her journey toward new identity and protected anonymity. Min returned to her vehicle mind, fully engaged in operational planning for the transition ahead. Phoenix had represented attempted return to civilian identity. Now it became operational cover for emergence of capabilities long suppressed, but never truly abandoned. Not Min or Mai exclusively, but integration of both the operational effectiveness that had made Smoke legendary, combined with the human connections and ethical framework Min had developed through loss and recovery. As she drove back toward Westport, plans formed with practiced efficiency. Phoenix would close for family emergency, requiring extended absence. Financial arrangements already established would maintain property ownership without requiring physical presence. Digital surveillance countermeasures would create impression of routine travel rather than operational deployment. 3 days to implement extraction protocols. Then Bangkok Operational Theater, where Reed's activities provided entry point into Pantheon structure. Intelligence gathering transitioning eventually to evidence compilation and strategic exposure of criminal enterprise spanning multiple countries and governmental connections. The mission Eric had begun and Lydia had continued, now transferred to her hands. Not short-term operational deployment, but potentially years-long commitment to justice beyond official channels. For the first time since Bucharest, Min felt complete alignment between operative capabilities and personal mission. Not compartmentalized existence, but integrated purpose, drawing on all aspects of her experience and identity. Mai Smoke Tran had operated from duty and professional excellence. Min Nguyen had built from personal connection and ethical clarity. The woman who now accepted Lydia's mission incorporated both while transcending their limitations. Whatever Pantheon represented, whatever power and influence they commanded, they would discover that some fires once ignited could not be extinguished through political manipulation or operational pressure. Some fires transformed everything they touched, leaving only truth in the ashes of deception. Bangkok's evening heat pressed against skin like wet silk, the air heavy with moisture and cooking spices from street vendors lining Sukhumvit Road. Min moved through the crowded sidewalk with practiced anonymity, another face among thousands navigating the city's commercial district as sunset approached. 3 weeks of careful intelligence gathering had established preliminary operational understanding of Reed's activities. His security company, Obsidian Consultants, maintained offices in a modern high-rise near a Sok intersection, providing legitimate business cover for whatever Pantheon operations he coordinated from Thailand. Tonight's surveillance focused on his regular Thursday meeting at an exclusive rooftop restaurant gatherings that appeared business-related, but involved individuals identified through Lydia's intelligence as potential Pantheon operatives or associates. Min entered the upscale hotel adjoining the restaurant, her appearance transformed through calculated adjustments rather than dramatic disguise. Professional attire suggesting international business, consultant, subtle makeup, emphasizing different facial features, body language projecting confident authority rather than deliberate anonymity. The hotel's elevator required keycard access for the restaurant-level security measures she had anticipated. A group of Western businessmen provided perfect cover their boisterous conversation, enabling her to join their elevator ascent without awkward questions. The rooftop space divided between open-air bar and enclosed restaurant section, the latter requiring reservations Min had ensured were unavailable through subtle digital manipulation. The bar provided sufficient proximity for surveillance while maintaining plausible presence. She ordered sparkling water with lime selecting position with optimal sightlines to Reed's regular table, while appearing focused on Bangkok's spectacular skyline view. Audio surveillance remained challenging, given ambient noise, but visual confirmation of participants and interaction patterns offered valuable intelligence. Reed arrived precisely at 7, accompanied by 2 security personnel who maintained professional distance while scanning surroundings with practiced assessment. Their movements confirmed military training, likely former special forces retained as personal security rather than standard corporate protection. Following Reed came individuals Min had identified through previous surveillance, regional corporate executives providing legitimate business connections, local political representatives offering regulatory influence, and 2 individuals whose functional roles remained undefined despite 3 weeks' observation. These unknowns represented highest intelligence priority potentially direct Pantheon operatives rather than external associates. One male European appearance, mid-40s, carrying himself with the subtle indicators of intelligence training rather than military background. One female Asian younger, moving with the calculated precision Min recognized from operative training, similar to her own. The gathering maintained business dinner appearance, conversation drinks, apparent celebration of successful negotiations based on body language and interaction patterns. Without audio surveillance, specific content remained unavailable, but operational understanding continued developing through behavioral assessment. Min maintained her position for 90 minutes, documenting interactions through memory rather than obvious recording methods. The female unknown appeared most significant based on Reed's attentiveness and the deference shown by other participants. As the evening progressed, an unexpected development, Reed separated from the main group, moving toward the bar area, where Min maintained surveillance position. Operational decision required maintain position, risking potential recognition, or create distance, potentially missing valuable intelligence opportunity. She chose controlled risk, adjusting position slightly while maintaining profile presentation, different from their previous encounters in Oak River. If Reed retained facial recognition capabilities regarding Mitran discovery, remained possible but not certain given environmental and appearance differences. Reed ordered whiskey neat, consistent with observed preference from previous operations. His position placed him 15 feet from Min's location, close enough for potential conversation monitoring, despite ambient noise. The European unknown joined him moments later, their conversation conducted with heads tilted together, suggesting confidentiality concerns even within secured location. Min adjusted position, slightly enhancing potential audio reception while maintaining casual appearance. Fragments became discernible through practiced attention. Oh, shipment confirmation from Taipei. Security protocols established for transfer. Demonstration capabilities exceed expectations. The content suggested weapons or technology transfer operations consistent with Pantheon's known activities, but providing insufficient specific intelligence. The arrival of the female unknown interrupted further monitoring opportunity, their conversation shifting as she joined them. Reed's body language changed, subtly increased attentiveness, slight postural adjustment, suggesting either deference or heightened security awareness. The woman spoke briefly, causing both men to check watches simultaneously before moving back toward the main dinner party. Operational assessment, coordination of timing-sensitive activities potentially imminent based on behavioral indicators. Intelligence priority upgraded accordingly. Min maintained position for additional 30 minutes as the gathering concluded, participants departing in structured sequence, suggesting security protocols rather than casual dinner completion. Reed departed accompanied by both unknown individuals, his security team establishing protective formation as they entered elevator. She followed at appropriate interval, maintaining separation, while prioritizing surveillance continuation if operationally viable. The hotel lobby presented surveillance challenges given increased security presence and limited concealment options, but Reed's group moved directly to waiting vehicles without deviation. 3 black SUVs with diplomatic plates suggesting governmental connection or deliberate misrepresentation for operational advantage. Min documented plate numbers through mental registration while maintaining apparent disinterest. As vehicles departed, she activated updated surveillance protocol digital tracking through modified application on secured device. Lydia's support infrastructure had provided specialized equipment leveraging traffic management systems to track target vehicles through Bangkok's congested streets without physical pursuit requirements. The digital trace showed convoy proceeding toward port facilities rather than returning to Obsidian Consultants' offices or Reed's known residence. Significant deviations suggesting operational activity rather than routine movement. Decision point: continue surveillance through direct approach to port area or maintain distance while establishing comprehensive intelligence through alternative methods. Port facilities at night presented heightened security risk for close surveillance. Min activated secondary protocol satellite surveillance access through Harlow's provided resources. Limited duration availability, but sufficient for current operational requirements. The secure application connected to designated satellite resources, providing overhead imagery of port section where Reed's convoy had entered restricted area. Real-time visuals showed vehicles approaching warehouse facility, separated from main shipping operations, specialized handling area according to port documentation Min had previously compiled. A cargo vessel had docked adjacent to this facility within past hour, according to automated tracking systems registered under Taiwanese corporation, with potential connection to fragment of conversation overheard during rooftop surveillance. Operational assessment, high probability of monitored shipment arrival and inspection, potentially weapons or restricted technology based on security parameters, and established intelligence regarding Pantheon activities. Min documented all available details, maintaining satellite connection until vehicles departed port facility approximately 90 minutes later. The convoy separated Reed and security team, returning toward residential district, while both unknown individuals proceeded toward international airport, according to tracking application. Intelligence gathered required immediate processing and correlation with existing knowledge base. Min returned to her operational apartment, modest accommodation in residential district, providing appropriate anonymity while maintaining necessary security protocols. The apartment contained minimal personal effects, but sophisticated technical infrastructure concealed within ordinary furnishings. She activated secured communication system, transmitting encoded surveillance report to Harlow's designated server for integration with broader intelligence collection. His response arrived within hours. Taiwanese connection confirmed through separate intelligence. Female unknown potential identification. Mei Lin, former Chinese intelligence, disappeared from official records 4 years ago. High-value target, if confirmation possible. The identification represented significant intelligence advancement. Chinese intelligence operatives transitioning to Pantheon suggested governmental penetration beyond previous assessment potential national security implications that might leverage official resources if properly presented. Min updated operational planning accordingly. Reed's activities provided entry intelligence, but Mei Lin potentially represented higher value target for understanding Pantheon's organizational structure and governmental connections. 3 days later, pattern surveillance confirmed initial assessment. Reed maintained regular operational security, but established routines created vulnerability through predictability. The port facility received additional shipments under similar security protocols suggesting ongoing operation rather than isolated incident. Most significantly, Mei Lin remained in Bangkok rather than departing as initially indicated by airport movement. Her operational security exceeded Reed's variable routines, counter-surveillance measures, minimal digital footprint, but Min's specialized tracking capabilities eventually established residence at exclusive condominium with diplomatic security provisions. The upgraded intelligence picture suggested Bangkok represented significant Pantheon operational hub rather than merely Reed's assigned territory. Mei Lin's presence indicated command authority or specialized operational role beyond regional management. After 2 weeks of comprehensive intelligence gathering, Min determined direct approach requirements. Passive surveillance had established baseline understanding, but penetrating Pantheon's operational structure required more aggressive intelligence collection. The port facility presented optimal target physical location, containing potential documentation or materials indicating operational parameters. Digital surveillance had identified security protocols including guard rotations, access requirements, and surveillance systems. Min prepared methodically, equipment checked and rechecked, entry and exit routes established with multiple contingencies, emergency protocols reviewed and mentally rehearsed. The operation represented first direct penetration of Pantheon-controlled facility, establishing precedent for future intelligence collection requirements. The approach utilized harbor maintenance access, legitimate infrastructure connection, providing less monitored entry than main security perimeters. Specialized equipment defeated digital security systems through temporary loop creation rather than disabling maintaining appearance of normal operation while enabling undetected access. Inside the facility contained standard shipping warehouse configuration with secured section requiring additional access protocols. Min bypassed these through technical measures rather than forced entry, maintaining operational principle of undetected intelligence gathering rather than confirmed penetration. The secured section contains specialized containers, environmental control systems, and reinforced construction suggesting sensitive contents. Digital access to manifest revealed deliberately obscured descriptions and routing documentation, but shipping origin confirmed Taiwanese connection previously identified. Most valuable intelligence emerged from Security Office digital systems access, gained through specialized intrusion equipment, provided through Harlow's resources. Internal communications revealed operational timeline for technology transfer to separate facility in northern Thailand, scheduled within 72 hours. Documentation referenced demonstration capabilities, consistent with conversation fragment overheard during initial surveillance. Additional reference to client representatives suggested potential weapon sale or technology transfer to third party. Men extracted critical intelligence without accessing containers themselves. Operational discipline prioritizing undetected information, gathering over physical confirmation of contents. After 37 minutes inside facility, she exited through maintenance access, leaving no evidence of penetration. The intelligence compilation produced operational assessment, high probability of illegal weapons demonstration within 72 hours, involving Reed May Lin and unidentified client representatives at Northern Thailand facility, approximately 300 kilometers from Bangkok. Harlow's response to transmitted intelligence confirmed significance. Coordinates matched suspected Pantheon training facility. Satellite confirmation of increased activity past week. Recommends surveillance operation to identify client representatives. Potential connection to identified terrorist organizations based on regional assessment. The recommendation aligned with MIN's operational planning. Direct surveillance of weapons demonstration would provide comprehensive intelligence regarding both Pantheon's capabilities and their client network, potentially establishing evidence of criminal activity beyond deniability thresholds that had allowed congressional burial of previous evidence. Operational preparation required compressed timeline, but remained within capability parameters. The northern facility's remote location provided both surveillance challenges and opportunities. Limited approach vectors, balanced against reduced security expectations compared to urban environment. 60 hours later, MIN established surveillance position overlooking suspected demonstration site, a former mining operation converted to private training facility, according to available intelligence. The remote location and mountainous terrain provided natural security through limited access routes, all monitored through checkpoint systems. Her approach had utilized parallel ridgeline access, technically challenging route that security protocols likely considered impractical for surveillance purposes. The position provided clear observation of central facility area with appropriate distance for security maintenance. Advanced surveillance equipment provided through Lydia's established resource channels enabled audio monitoring despite distance. Multiple vehicle arrivals confirmed operational activity consistent with intelligence assessment. Reed's security team established perimeter protocols beyond standard measures suggesting high-value demonstration parameters. Malin personally supervised security sweep before arrival of unmarked helicopter approximately 14 hours after MIN established surveillance position. The helicopter passengers represented highest intelligence value potential clients for whatever weapons or technology demonstration Pantheon had arranged. Video documentation through specialized equipment provided facial recognition capability for later identification. 4 individuals exited helicopter Middle Eastern appearance, suggesting potential connection to regional, non-state actors identified in Lydia's intelligence as previous Pantheon clients. Their security detail indicated professional training beyond typical protection parameters. The demonstration occurred in secured section of facility, observable through surveillance equipment, but with limited audio capability due to enclosed structure. Visual confirmation established advanced weapon system demonstration, drone technology with specialized targeting capabilities based on operational assessment. Most significant intelligence emerged during post-demonstration meeting, observable through facility windows. Digital lip reading application provided partial conversation reconstruction despite technical limitations. Production capability established. The deployment timeline acceptable. Payment protocols as previously established. Demonstration confirms effectiveness against specified targets. The content confirmed weapon sale rather than technology demonstration, exclusively operational transaction rather than marketing presentation. The scale suggested significant capability transfer, potentially impacting regional security parameters if deployed by non-state actors. MIN documented comprehensively maintaining surveillance until client representatives departed via helicopter, approximately 6 hours after arrival. Reed and Mei Lin remained at facility, suggesting additional operational activities beyond initial demonstration. The intelligence gathered represented significant advancement in understanding Pantheon's operational activities. concrete evidence of illegal weapons transfer to potential terrorist organizations coordinated by former intelligence operatives with apparent governmental protection based on diplomatic security provisions. As men prepared to extract from surveillance position unexpected development facility, security patterns changed abruptly, suggesting potential compromise detection or heightened awareness. Searchlights activated along perimeter patrol patterns shifted from routine to search protocols. Operational decision required immediate implementation, maintain position risking potential discovery, or execute extraction, potentially missing additional intelligence opportunity. Security response patterns suggested random verification rather than confirmed compromise detection standard protocol, escalation rather than targeted search. Men maintained position with enhanced concealment measures, balancing intelligence collection value against security maintenance. The decision proved tactically sound as security measures returned to standard protocols after 90 minutes without discovery of surveillance position. Additional intelligence emerged through continued observation facility, preparation for materials transportation based on vehicle and personnel movements. After confirming critical intelligence collection complete, men executed extraction protocol, utilizing darkness and terrain features for concealment while establishing maximum distance before daylight exposure risk. The 18-kilometer extraction to predetermined transportation pickup required approximately 5 hours through difficult terrain, completed without security compromise. The intelligence compilation transmitted to Harlow produced immediate response. Critical confirmation of Pantheon weapons distribution to designated terrorist organization. Facial recognition confirms priority targets under multiple national security directives. Forwarding edited intelligence through secured channels to appropriate authorities. The careful wording acknowledged operational reality. Harlow would provide intelligence to official channels without revealing unauthorized collection methods or broader Pantheon investigation. The weapons transfer evidence created operational leverage through national security implications that even compromised officials couldn't easily dismiss. 3 days later, operational confirmation arrived through multiple channels. Thai Special Forces raided the northern facility with international observers present. Official operation based on anonymous intelligence regarding illegal weapons transfer. Simultaneous intelligence community alerts regarding identified terrorist representatives established heightened security protocols across multiple agencies. The operation had successfully leveraged Pantheon's activities against their own security, creating official response impossible to contain through political influence or operational control. The weapons transfer evidence established criminal activity parameters that required formal response, regardless of Pantheon's governmental connections. Most significantly, Reed and Mei Lin had been absent during the raid, suggesting potential intelligence leak within official channels that had enabled their departure before operational implementation. The penetration confirmation aligned with Lydia's intelligence regarding Pantheon's governmental influence. Men adjusted operational planning accordingly. The weapons transfer intelligence represented tactical success, but revealed strategic vulnerability. Official channels compromised to unknown extent, limiting future operational leverage through similar methods. Direct targeting of Reed and Mei Lin now carried heightened risk profile. Their awareness of intelligence collection against Pantheon operations would trigger enhanced security protocols and potential counterintelligence activities. The operational phase required adjustment from intelligence gathering to evidence compilation and protective security measures. Men established enhanced operational security protocols while transferring comprehensive intelligence to Harlow's secured server system, creating evidence repository beyond Pantheon's reach regardless of future operational developments. 2 days after the raid, Harlow's emergency communication protocol activated. Compromise indicated. Reed's security team accessing apartment building through local police credentials. Extraction required immediate. The warning confirmed operational assessment regarding Pantheon's counterintelligence capabilities. Reed had identified her presence in Bangkok, likely through methodical investigation following the facility raid and intelligence exposure. Men activated emergency extraction protocol, pre-positioned resources and exit strategy established during initial operational planning. The apartment contained no actionable intelligence, all documentation secured through digital encryption and off-site storage, but her presence could trigger broader security compromise if Reed's team successfully located her. The extraction route utilized service areas rather than main building access. avoiding potential surveillance or interception. Emergency transportation arranged through Harlow's established resources provided direct movement to secondary safe house location in Bangkok's older district, where structural density and population concentration created natural surveillance challenges for pursuing forces. From secured communication point, Min assessed situation through Harlow's intelligence resources. Reed's team had indeed penetrated her previous apartment, establishing comprehensive search parameters, suggesting confirmed identity awareness rather than speculative investigation. The operational security compromise required significant tactical adjustment. Bangkok no longer provided viable operational theater given Pantheon's awareness and resource deployment. Extraction from Thailand became primary objective rather than continued intelligence gathering. Harlow's assessment aligned with operational reality. Reed has activated comprehensive search protocols, airport and border monitoring established through local resources. Maritime extraction represents optimal approach given current security parameters. The recommendation matched Min's tactical assessment. Thailand's airports and land borders presented concentrated checkpoint systems easily monitored through Pantheon's apparent official connections. Maritime approaches offered greater operational flexibility and reduced documentation requirements. Extraction planning leveraged pre-established emergency protocols, commercial shipping departure from secondary port facility, with arranged transportation to international waters for transfer to separate vessel beyond Thai territorial jurisdiction. While awaiting extraction window, Min conducted comprehensive intelligence review, consolidating findings from 3 weeks operational activities in Bangkok. The weapons transfer operation confirmed Pantheon's continued illegal activities, despite congressional investigation into Harding Industries. Reed's position within organizational structure suggested significant authority beyond regional management. Malin's involvement indicated Chinese intelligence connection potentially extending to governmental awareness or participation in Pantheon activities. Most significantly, the operational security compromise following intelligence exposure confirmed Lydia's assessment regarding governmental penetration. The rapid identification of intelligence source and targeted response suggested capabilities beyond standard private security operations. The extraction proceeded through carefully established protocol commercial shipping departure, utilizing containerized transportation method rather than passenger documentation. The approach minimized digital footprint while maximizing physical concealment options. 36 hours after extraction initiation, Min transferred to secondary vessel in international waters, secure transportation arranged through Harlow's resources to alternative operational location. The transition completed without security compromise, establishing successful extraction despite Pantheon's comprehensive search protocols. Operational assessment required significant recalibration following Bangkok phase completion. Reed's counterintelligence response confirmed awareness of directed investigation against Pantheon operations. Future intelligence gathering would face enhanced security protocols and potential counter-surveillance measures based on identified methodologies. Most importantly, the Bangkok operation had established concrete evidence of continued criminal activities, despite congressional burial of previous evidence. The weapons transfer documentation provided leverage for potential official action if presented through appropriate channels with sufficient protection against Pantheon's apparent influence. As the extraction vessel proceeded toward designated safe harbor, Min conducted secure communication with Harlow regarding next operational phase. His assessment acknowledged both achievement and emerging challenges. Bangkok operation confirmed Pantheon operational structure extends beyond previous intelligence assessment. Reed's position indicates organizational importance beyond Harding connection. Malin's involvement suggests governmental connections requiring careful approach in future operations. Recommend operational pause for comprehensive intelligence integration before determining next phase objectives. The recommendation aligned with tactical assessment. The Bangkok phase had provided valuable intelligence while revealing operational vulnerabilities requiring adjustment. Direct targeting of Pantheon components now carried heightened risk profile given their awareness of investigation. Strategic recalibration required comprehensive understanding of intelligence gathered thus far, identifying Pantheon's organizational structure, key operational components, and potential vulnerabilities beyond Reed's immediate operational sphere. Most significantly, the weapons transfer evidence created potential leverage for official action, despite previous congressional burial of Harding evidence. The documented connection to designated terrorist organizations established national security implications that even compromised officials would struggle to dismiss without creating additional vulnerability. Min confirmed operational pause for intelligence integration and strategic planning. The extraction vessel would proceed to secured location where comprehensive assessment could determine next phase objectives without immediate operational pressure. The Bangkok phase had confirmed Lydia's intelligence regarding Pantheon's structure and activities. Reed operated within organizational framework extending beyond single corporate entity or national boundary. The weapons transfer operation demonstrated continued criminal activities despite Harding Industries' investigation and congressional hearings. Most importantly, the operation had established Min's capability to penetrate Pantheon security despite their resources and apparent governmental connections. The intelligence gathered provided foundation for continued investigation, with adjusted methodologies accounting for their awareness and countermeasures. As the vessel proceeded through darkened waters, Min reviewed operational parameters with professional detachment. Phoenix seemed increasingly distant memory, civilian identity receding as operational requirements dominated conscious processing. Yet the mission's purpose remained anchored in personal connection rather than abstract justice. Eric's murder. Lydia's years in hiding. The congressional burial of evidence that would have exposed Pantheon's criminal enterprise. The integration of professional capability and personal motivation provided operational foundation beyond standard parameters. Not my smoke, Tran, operating through agency direction, but self-directed mission leveraging operational capabilities for justice beyond official limitations. The Bangkok phase represented successful first step in methodical approach toward Pantheon's exposure and eventual destruction. Reed's reaction confirmed the organization's vulnerability to properly directed investigation, despite their apparent resources and influence. Whatever came next would build upon this foundation, strategic patience, combined with tactical precision, against an adversary now aware of their vulnerability, but unable to identify the full scope of investigation against them. The fire had been ignited. Now it would burn methodically until nothing remained but ashes and truth.